How you doing? How's everybody out there? Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kris, and this is a very, very special live episode of Xtreme Memories. First off, this opportunity, before we get into the dark side of the ring, we all just saw it. Whoa. A lot to encompass in just 1 hour, but we'll maybe try to fill in the blanks and stuff we've missed. First off, we got some people joining already. I'm going to introduce you all in just a second. But once again, I want to take this opportunity before we get into the dark side to thank everybody for all your support for the last over a year. Since July of 2020, we've interviewed, almost everybody from XPW. And we've done it more than 1 hour. So everybody that we've interviewed has a lot to say, has had a lot to say. But this episode in particular, we want to talk about what we just saw on Vice TV. Of course, the dark side of the ring. There's been a lot of buzz with XPW surrounding Vice, surrounding dark side of the ring. And we got everybody's story. So we're going to try to kind of touch on what we saw and maybe also what we did not see on dark side of the ring. Like I said, first off, let's go now. And just a reminder, folks, normal episodes of Xtreme Memories still on the 15th and the 30th of every month. I want to thank everybody that's been a part of Xtreme Memories already. And we have some future guests as well. Right now with us, I'm going to introduce, oh, you saw them. Fame from Dark Side of the Ring. I'm talking about Jezebel and Chaos.
Always talking about you. What's up?
About both you guys.
Hello.
Hello. How are you guys? I should say I already know. I should say I already know. I seen you guys. We're gonna get into that. Also, right to the right of my screen, it's the Teakle side of everything is Mike Hartsfield. Producer extraordinaire from, of course, XPW. Mike, welcome yourself to Xtreme Memories, a special live edition.
What's up, everybody? How you guys doing? Hey, Joe. Hey, Sylvia.
Hi, how are you?
And Teakle. Good. How are you guys?
Yeah, that's right.
Live and kicking.
I don't see all that.
Right on.
Okay, and I want to say, we're talking all the way from the East Coast. Let's welcome... Luke Hawks, formerly known as Altar Boy. Luke, Luke, how you doing?
Well, hey, first off, I ain't on the fucking East Coast. I'm from the South, baby. New Orleans, Louisiana. Let's get that right.
Well, for us, that's the East Coast, man. All right, we're in California. Luke, how you doing? Welcome, my friend.
What's up, man? Good to see my boys.
What's happening, everybody?
And then we got Patrick Hernandez here, but I think he's having some problems. So we got one down there too. I can't. I did, yeah. No, focus on this. Okay, all right. So here we go. First time live. Folks.
Tell that motherfucker.
Okay, so now check this out. We just all saw the episode. I'll just clear something up really quick. Some people are asking me why was I not on this episode, and there's a couple reasons. I'll just answer this briefly. They called me. And I did about an hour interview on the phone. They asked me a lot of questions, and I'll be honest. After watching this, though, I was fine with it. You know, I just wasn't sure. Myself and Kevin Kleinrock had a conversation because I knew he turned it down, and I was 50-50 doing it. I just didn't want to be a part of something that I wasn't sure how they were going to spin it. As you guys know, we worked in MTV, Wrestling Society X. And when a network is in charge of something, you just never know how it's going to come out. So that was more or less my reservation, but I was on the fence 50-50. I did a phone interview. They didn't use any of my stuff on the phone. That's fine. But after watching it, I would have had no problem being a part of that. And I thought you guys came out very well. The one thing I will say, though, and I don't know if you guys agree with me, maybe we'll start with you guys, Jezebel and Chaos, since you came on first, it was so much to encompass in just 1 hour.
Hey, Klaus, can I ask something really quick? Joey and Mike, when you guys were talking, it was clear. But Klaus, when you talk, it kind of breaks up a little bit. Are you guys getting that too?
Yeah, I heard
we're hearing it clear.
Yeah, I'm getting them clear.
You're okay. Y'all hear him clear? I don't. Okay. I hear him, but he breaks up. But I hear everybody else clear.
Maybe that's because you're on the East Coast. But let's go to
He's in the
South. let's go to you guys. You guys came on first, but I mean, look, for all intents and purposes, they did cover a lot. There were a few factoids that weren't necessarily correct, of course, but we'll get into that. But what do you guys think of doing the show, but then also watching the end product? And again, my whole thing was, I mean, look, we've had you on, Luke, we've had you on, Mike, you guys, Joey, and man, our conversations one-on-one were like 1.5, anywhere from 1.5 to 3 hours with some of you guys. And that was just interviewing one person. And I felt like we didn't maybe touch on everything, which is why I always invited most everybody back. But what did you think of the end product? And it really, in my opinion, do you guys think that 1 hour is just so much to cover?
Well, I mean, definitely not. I mean, I actually want to just tell you like what you guys are doing at the Wrestling Chatter, telling all these XPW stories. You know, you got everybody doing it, and I just think that what you're doing, Kris, Klaus, and George, is just like really getting the story out there of just like you said, like an hour. Obviously, an hour is not long enough to tell the story of what happened. And I was definitely apprehensive about doing it at first. I totally turned it down at first. And I even told them, I said, I didn't want it to be I don't want to be part of like something like Dark Side of the Ring. Like, it's just negative. It just sounds very negative. And the producer, Howard, was like, you know, I know that's the name, but we want to make we want to tell stories. We want to tell stories about the people that were part of this. And I think I went really back and forth about doing it, and then even Jezebel, and I think it was even up to the day that we were supposed to go do the interview. It was like a 50-50 up in the air if we wanted to do it
or cancel.
Yeah, or cancel. But definitely, I think even after doing it, because we're coming off of COVID, or we're on COVID and we're not doing anything. My school wasn't even open at the time, and I feel like it was something to do. And I was very like, I don't know. I don't know how they were, just like you said, Kris, I didn't know how they were going to tell the story. I didn't know how they were going to edit what I said. And, obviously I watched the episode and I see that they definitely used tidbits of other stories to make another story sound better. But I think they did a good job at the end of the day. I really do. I kind of feel like that. I don't know. How do you feel?
I kind of was like you. It was in the middle of COVID. There was nothing going on, and we're wondering what the hell we're going to do, twiddling our thumbs. But up until basically, we sat down and watched the episode. Even during the episode, I was like going, "Oh my God, what did I say?" Because I could not remember. But my biggest fear was like, it was going to be somewhat of a bashing video. Or episode, and that was the thing I think that fucked with my head the most. But I don't know. I thought they did it very respectfully. I don't think there was. I don't know. I thought it was done very tastefully.
And Mike, you came in, and I felt like you kind of said a lot on there, like you did when I interviewed you about kind of the inner workings, and they showed a lot of your schematics from the free fall event, and I always marked out for that story, even when I interviewed you, about the insurance company. So I think that's great, man. And that I just
hey,
if
I don't
that's
know
not
how to tell that story on TV.
I mean, man,
they still have to prove it.
I said, what the fuck's Mike doing?
Well, the Olympic Auditorium's been sold, so I think our statute limitations is expired.
Do you find, Mike, because when I interviewed you and you told me that, I when you mentioned it on our interview, I kind of, the memory started coming back, and I vaguely remember that. But do you have any problem? I mean, obviously you don't. You said it, but do you think that saying something like that matters? Like, as far as like, how people are, let's say cancel culture. I know this is not something like that, but do you feel like saying something like that can come back in any way, or are those things, these legalities, kind of like a thing of the past?
Well, I mean, statute of limitations is what it is. I don't
Right.
know. I haven't researched what it is for this particular instance, but that's not something I brought to XPW. That's something that was the method, the way they did things, and I just had to do that particular one. So I made sure not to mention the people who taught me the trick of the trade, but I did, and when I left there, as you guys who got interviewed, I mean, what we said was hours long, or something in the realm, and to have to edit it down like they do into 48 minutes or whatever it ends up being is tremendous editing work to get in what they get in. But I actually woke up the night after I did the interview and I thought about the insurance thing, because as people have asked me the story, or I've told it or whatever, people have been like, oh my God, there was no insurance and this guy fell off of the scaffolding. And when it's put into the perspective in that way, I woke up in the middle of the night and I just thought, I hope nobody thought that I put the boys in any kind of jeopardy, because, or that even that XPW had, because we were lying to a building. We were lying to Olympic Auditorium because that was requesting insurance. There were ambulances on site, as everyone remembers. The minute it fell, the doors open and ambulances were there. So guys were taken care of on hand, but it's just, if the building ever wanted, like if the scaffolding had fallen over and fell into the upper arena area and damaged it, the building would have tried to sue us, and we would have been like,
oh, right.
Yeah, call the insurance company.
If there was ever a show not to be insured, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, it's completely irresponsible. And I don't believe an insurance certificate is more than a couple $100. So it's really a weird corner for there to be cuts made when we're paying $10,000 to be in a building, and we're going to save $200 or $300 by like running, in such
Hey, Mike, you're right, man. It is. It's like, what? It might be like $450 for 1,000 people or something like that.
Right.
If they got it doing multiple shows, it would have been a lot cheaper.
Right.
But you know what, man? It's so easy right now. Like, there's websites out there that actually now have a listing of wrestling, and it says scripted. And it actually says that. And I just thought, like, wow, these insurance companies have actually, or pro wrestling itself has probably come a long way.
Oh, yeah.
Those days, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Back in the day, in Mike's defense, back in the day, they had this poor guy running ragged.
Yeah.
Mike, didn't we spend Thanksgiving weekend on McDonald's burgers, and we were painting the set and making the ring skirts and stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, this guy did everything and anything for that company to make it successful. And
well, you mentioned, Mike, that you actually, I remember that you slept in the ring. I remember coming.
Yeah, which is probably a hazmat situation.
That was legitimate.
We tried to clean the map a few times. We did try.
That was legitimate, because I remember coming early to the arena, and you were literally like, you were still sitting there. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Taking a break? And you're like, no, I'm just waking up. There was a blanket in there and whatever. Jacket. I remember that though. But I'm gonna jump on some of these comments. Before I do that, Luke Hawks coming into the episode here as the third guest. And Luke, big part of the Dark Side episode. I'm glad that you were showcased. And I want to ask you, as a whole, how was your experience, and how do you think it came up, just off the heels of watching it, all of us?
Hey, shout out to that heels comment, by the way. Get it, heels? Get it? Do you get it, Klaus? Do you get it? You know what I'm fucking talking about? All right. Anyway, I seen these two guys had their hats on, so I had to throw my hat on, How's my bag? It's a little secret. But no, before we get into that, I got to say, going off what y'all were just talking about, hats off to Mike and Sylvia and all the people who work backstage just not XPW, but wrestling events, man, because you guys are the unsung heroes that nobody really talks about or brags about, because there's so many people that work behind the scenes and they work their ass off and they work for a little. They get no credit, and then, you know, they do just as much work as we do. And I understand that the wrestlers are the ones in the spotlight and we train for that shit, but there's a lot of people and more hands involved, and, you know, without all hands being involved, honestly, it wouldn't be successful. No wrestling event. So, you know, hats off to anybody who goes above and beyond and works behind the scenes for us, man. So now I forgot your question, so ask me one more time, Plus. I had that in my mind. I wanted to say that.
Thank you. No, that's so true. The unsung heroes that make it all work. But let me, Luke, being a part of Dark Side, how was that, and how did you like what you just saw?
You know, I thought it was a good job. I thought they did a really good job. My only thing that I don't like about it is, you know, obviously Rob's trying to kickstart some new shit up and get a new promotion going with it. And I think that it almost segues into shining a little light on him to run a show again, which I don't think he should be doing, because I don't think he knows fuck all about wrestling, you know. And I think we've proved that. And I think anybody who works for the guy is a fucking idiot. And I know some of the people who are working for him, and I like them, and I mean that in the most utmost respect way. But you shouldn't be fucking working there, you know. But I understand. You want to go get a payday? You want to go get a payday? Go get a payday, I guess.
Hey, did Rob call you? Did he try to book you?
Fuck, what you think?
I don't know why I would try to book you. Look at you. I put the belt on you.
Yeah.
Are you Paul?
You
Huh?
have changed from your Ultimate Parade Luke days.
First off, he ain't got enough fucking money to ever book me. Second off, you know, I wouldn't be caught dead over in that motherfucker. So.
Did he ever try to come?
And I'm sure he's listening to this.
No, so are you guys the only two active from the original roster? Because, you know, you speak about this.
Joey's not active. No,
yeah, I ain't active.
I've been trying to wrestle Joey for about 5 years now.
Oh,
He challenged him a lot.
He's not down. He's not down.
He's not
I've been
retired.
trying to wrestle for like 5 years now, bro.
I got
What's
skills,
up?
man. I got
We
skills.
can have an exclusive here.
Yeah, he does.
Hey,
He got
I'm
skills.
down.
That's why I want to do it.
I'm down only if you're down to do the 450.
oh,
I still got that in me. Hey, I'm 220 pounds. I can still do a 450. Hey, I'll go one step further. We'll do it at Santino's in your backyard.
Ah,
we'll do
there
it at
you
your
go.
place.
Hey,
maybe
you heard that first. You heard
that's
that
like
first right here.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
guys,
like
really quick. I
down.
want to bring in maybe the greatest referee of all time, not just XPW, Patrick Hernandez. Come on in, pal. How you doing, Patrick?
Hey guys, you guys need a referee?
Yeah, I think
I'm
so.
getting a referee.
Oh, yeah.
I think we do.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect timing.
Yes. So, Patrick, were you, before we get into it, obviously we see the guys that were a part of it, the Dark Side episode. You just got done watching it. Were you contacted like I was, or did they contact you, or no?
No, I mean, honestly,
okay.
I was watching my Dodgers win a playoff game to live another day.
There's my spoiler. I was DVRing it, but now I'm not.
So sorry.
Good news.
I was going back and forth, but no one approached me whatsoever.
When did you first hear that this was a thing, that the Dark Side was coming out with something like this?
Oh God. I mean, just a buzz. I mean, people were texting me and, other workers, and I'm like, oh, really? XPW? Oh, okay. I mean, we'll see.
How did you like what you saw just now? What did you think of it?
It's XPW. I mean,
Yeah.
Controversy and glitz, glamour, women, hardcore wrestling. I mean, it's definitely an XPW product, I guess.
Do you think they did a good job representing it? Do you think it was accurate? Do you think they I know, like we talked before you came on, it was only an hour, and that's a lot to encompass in an hour. But from what they did, how did you like it? What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, professionally done. The guests that they had on there and gave a lot of detail. I'm not going to lie, it kept me to the edge of my seat watching Vic take that bump off the scaffold. I mean,
to this day.
I felt like I was there all over again.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, so powerful of what has happened and, in the history of XPW. But, I thought it was well done.
I think one thing they kind of, I don't know, tell me what you guys think, but one thing they said, like when they kind of talked about ECW shutting down, that's when all the XPW acquired all that talent. But the timeline was not totally accurate because they were showing Big Dick Dudley. They were showing John Cronus. They were showing Abdul the Butcher. A lot of these guys that were there while ECW was around. It almost made XPW look like the only reason they got these guys was because ECW folded. I understand a lot of guys came over when ECW folded, but man, almost every piece of footage they showed of these named guys were those early 99, 2000 and early 2001 days, when we had that talent. So did you guys notice that inconsistency? And did you guys also, and we got a stripe hype, the timeline was screwed up in some parts. They made Luke Messiah and XPW say, Luke and Messiah and XPW at the same time. So talking about the timeline, we get a lot of comments here coming in that the consistency wasn't there. Did you guys notice that on that part with the ECW wrestlers and also anywhere else that you can think of? And Joey, Sylvia, did you want to comment on that?
There was
Hey, Messiah and Luke Hawx weren't there at the same time?
No.
They weren't.
No, barely. They barely, like right when Messiah left, Luke came in.
So
that's right. Yeah.
All the original Ultra Boys were students, huh?
Well, hey, think about it. I mean, Messiah left. They needed some other church gimmick,
Yes, we had to have the church gimmick.
Yeah, right.
Oh, geez.
Can't kill that.
That makes sense because I never seen them together.
That's true.
Yeah.
Together.
Hey, I lost y'all. I'm sorry. I'm in full now, and I figured out what it was. It was my piece of shit iPad. That's why I don't use Apple products. I had to get on my Android phone, which people like to talk shit about. But look, now everything's crystal clear. It works. I'm back. I see y'all's beautiful faces. I can hear y'all. Fuck Apple, Samsung all the way. Here we go.
Hey, Luke, thank you. Thank you. This is our
like Apple.
Yeah, this is the first time the Wrestling Chatter has a sponsor. So thank you for plugging that. But hey, really quick, I want to get back to that question. But first, let's introduce Juan Tastico.
Xtreme
Memories.
Oh, yeah.
Hey.
Oh,
hey.
shit.
What's up, buddy?
Hey, everybody. Good to see you all. Wow. Patrick,
Memories.
Chaos, Sylvia, Luke.
What's up?
Mr.
Hey, we have a three-way here.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Hey, I still tell the story to my students about how I couldn't wrestle. And I got in the ring with Juan Tastico, and he was like, quit fucking grabbing the ropes, man. And then I came to one point, I was going to grab the ropes again. He said, no, fuck that. Wrestle your way out. Wrestle your fucking way out. And I tell my students, I was so embarrassed because I couldn't wrestle my way out. I couldn't do shit, man. But, I always tell them about Juan Tastico, always schooling me up, man.
Appreciate it. I'll be back, Joey. I'm going to surprise you one day. I'm going to show up at Santino Brothers in a mask.
Hell
yeah.
A mystery man.
Ric Flair Dragon, brother.
The long hair. The long hair.
Flair Dragon.
Hey, Gabriel Wantasco, thanks for joining us. We look at, man, this whole Xtreme Memories has been going down memory lane, but man, so awesome to see all you guys at once. This is great.
Yeah, I got chills, man. I got chills just seeing everybody.
We're talking, Gabriel, about basically what you just saw. You watched. Now, you weren't part of that? Did they contact you at all? Dark Side? No. Okay.
No, I was not contacted at all. I was, and it made me wonder where exactly how they were going to tell the story, what angle they were going to use. And when I saw the title of the Dark Side of the Ring, basically it had Rob Black's name on it. So I figured, that's what they were going to focus on. And I was surprised to see some of the people that were interviewed. I'm glad they interviewed Joey. Luke obviously has a lot to say, and it's I love listening to Luke. I loved watching his wrestling chatter, and I was glad that he was on this. Mike, I loved his wrestling chatter, and I'm so glad that he was on this. I was so happy to see Joey and Sylvia. It was yeah, it was a great show, and I was happy to see Messiah able to tell his story now in an even bigger uh, forum, if you will. So yeah, I thought it was done well, and you know what, oddly enough, I mean they do it for whatever the hour long time frame that they have, and in my head I'm watching. And I'm watching with my girlfriend, and I'm still telling her like, "Oh, and this is what happened here," and oh no, but the timeline was up, and so it was very, very, and still stories in my head, still like, oh, and what about this? And of all the things they covered, it still leaves like all the things they didn't, and all the other things that were for the time, XPW, Extreme Pro Wrestling, and all this. They focus on the pornography, and you almost forget about all the for lack of a better term, like all the racist angles that we had, all the other stuff that we did. I mean, did everybody forget about
right.
NC? Remember NC?
Yeah,
remember
NC,
all these things. Remember even my whole thing coming on was kind of a little bit racist there too. So yeah, like you could do a whole other Dark Side of the Ring, XPW's racism.
Right. and there's some old footage, Gabriel, now that you mentioned that, of myself, like I as a white guy announcer, like saying I can't understand what you're saying, like, oh man, I listened to some of that stuff, and it was so but that was the thing, you guys, like when you look back at that and certain things that are considered risque now, and we were even pushing the envelope back then, but don't you find that looking back at when we did stuff like that, oddly enough, there was an innocence within that all this horrific things we were doing. There was such an innocence, like you said, Gabriel. When you look back at some of that stuff, we're performing, we're acting, we're entertaining. Those people on XPW TV are not the people you see on this screen here. They're performers. Do you find, looking back at some of this stuff, it's like, wow, the way society has changed, man, XPW is right in the middle of that, because if people want to go back and look at how, hey, look at the bad stuff that someone said, whatever, back in the day, I mean, you could just open up a vault with XPW.
Yeah, it's so true. If cancel culture being a thing, I mean, all you have to do is go back to a couple of XPW shows. But the thing, the wrestling in and of itself transcends that, and in a way, XPW, because they were so outlaw, I think it's just, well, that's just everybody XPW was extreme, so I in a weird way, I think we get some kind of pass on that. And as far as what we were doing, we were doing it, and it's like Chaos said, there was a certain kind of, I mean, we could feel that magic. We could feel we were a part of something. Something was happening when we were doing that. When XPW was happening, when we were on the locker room, there was always a certain feeling to it. Like it felt like we were supposed to be there at that time. Like I loved being in the ring with Joey and Supreme and D, and when we were there, even just at the workouts, there was something about being there. I remember I don't know if Joey remembers this. The time we were all trying to nail the reverse moonsault, whatever we're trying to do off the rope, and everybody was kind of like doing riding a slide on the playground. Everybody was going to the top turnbuckle and trying to hit that damn splash. And but it was all of us trying to work harder, work better to like work with each other to get up, to get over. And nobody was, as far as the SoCal boys, we were encouraging each other. Like there was something magical about that, because we were working together. I don't know what it was like with the other guys, but the SoCal boys, we were tight, man. We were a family.
And Luke, I feel like you, Luke, when we talk, and by the way, I want to tell all the fans, we are live, and keep the questions, comments coming. We're going to get to them really quick. But do you guys think, like Luke, I was going to say, You always felt like one of the homegrown guys from day one. There was something about you.
I mean, I was. I mean, I wasn't with the company from day one, but
that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
My breakout was in XPW, and I was trained by Vic, who was, a fucking a head honcho over there. He was a leader over there. Everybody looked up to Vic, just like everybody looked up to Supreme. And then, Supreme was one of those guys that first endorsed me and take me in. And we did those death matches. My second show. Yeah, my second show. I was wrestling Supreme in death matches and shit. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where people gave me that respect coming in, and I think y'all kind of know where I stand with some shit. That shit that wasn't talked about and that shit. I mean, Joey, you probably remember when me and New Jack almost got in a fight my first show there, backstage.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't even with the company yet. Like Vic was trying to get me in, and we got in an argument backstage. And I was this young skinny kid, but I grew up fighting. I ain't scared of nobody. So, and that was the way it was. And I think people seen how I stood my ground, and that's when Supreme. That was the first day I met Supreme. Actually, he came up to me. He's like, "Hey, don't worry about it. Fucking just chill the fuck out because we don't need drama in the locker room. Blow it off, whatever." You know what I mean? It was just one of those things where they knew I was raw. And everybody there was raw, and we all had these different backgrounds. Again, everybody, like y'all talked about, the SoCal boys were tight. The NorCal boys were tight. They traveled in packs and cliques, but everybody got along and everybody was in it. Everybody was just trying to make each other better and help each other. And it was cool for me because I looked up to those guys. I looked up to Joey tremendously. I just thought I was so fucking skinny. I would see Joey and how great he looked and how he had the shiny tights with the stars all over him. And, what I mean? Like, I seen that shit and I was like, this motherfucker's a star. Like, I wanted to be a star. I wanted to be like Joey Chaos. I seen how good he moved in the ring and he just had that look. He had the blonde hair and he's all fucking oiled up and he come out and he's doing that, that's.
Yeah.
I wanted to be that dude in the limelight,
You say that
I think,
thing. I remember seeing Damian Steele when I was just Kid Chaos.
Yeah,
I used to see Damian Steele, and that was my whole look was like Damian Steele, and no one ever said that. But man, I don't know if I've ever spoke about it. But man, the way you looked at me, Luke, man, I used to look at Damian Steele and be like, damn, he's in the main event. He's got the body. He looks good. He's got the hair, everything, man. That's cool, man.
Somebody's asking, why did Luke have a weird character change and go emo goth? I'm sorry, I'm answering a question. I'm sorry, Pat. Yes. I didn't mean to cut you off. Somebody's asking, why did I go emo goth? It was the office's idea. It wasn't my idea. So.
Patrick, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I think for me personally, besides all the stars that were coming in from the East Coast, a thrill for me was seeing the Messiah, Luke, Wantastico, Chaos, Supreme, the local guys, like Luke was saying, we were all tight. But to see them on that big stage, for me, I knew that they made it.
Yeah.
Hearing the crowd respond to these guys, and they're all of them are athletes. They all hurt, they bleed, they break bones, but for me to see them make it at that level, Homeless Jimmy, Angel, I mean, that was a huge thrill for me. That made me proud being part of this whole promotion, watching these guys shine. And everyone performed very professionally. Everyone gave 110%. Everyone wanted this. Everyone stayed hungry every show, day in and day out.
So true, Patrick. And one thing I will say when talking about Rob and Kevin was that when we did bring all those ECW guys in, again, whether it was before ECW folded or not, I feel looking back on it, if because like Messiah was saying, like Rob would have died and this was what he wanted to do, create his own thing. I think looking back that the ECW guys, the name talent that came in, they didn't come in because Rob and Kevin necessarily wanted them. They came in because they needed them to sell the DVDs, to put on the box covers, to put on the shows. But if it was up to Kevin and Rob totally, if their wish was granted, they would have, of course, wanted the homegrown guys to get over, because that really represented XPW more so than the other guys. Great having them, but it didn't represent what the foundation of the company was. And
that's every, Chris, that's every wrestling promotion.
Right.
That's every wrestling promotion. You go to anywhere, WWF, WWE, ECW, CZW, fucking WCW. They all had the guys that were from the previous generation come down working with the younger guys coming up and building those guys and making them into stars. That's the whole point of wrestling, right? We pass it down from generation to generation and we build up the new stars. Look at Joey working with his guys.
At the same time, man, I remember getting a lot of shit from guys like Juventud and Sabu.
Yes.
Bob Black wanted to put me over, and I don't know if it was a little bit different. I don't know if WCW closing down and these guys were still fresh, but Rob stuck to his guns about really wanting to put the homegrown talent over. At least for me, and I definitely think for Supreme for sure. You
definitely saw that. You definitely saw that with Rob. That was a big deal for him, is to get over the Supremes and the Chaos, the Hawks, and the Dynamite.
Well, look, he did something. He did something right.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because there are so many leagues, indie, whatever, that will mark out so much for this name guy coming over, put him over after all their homegrown talent, and then the guy's gone, and then they didn't do anything with it. At least we saw that out here in SoCal at the time quite a bit. So when we first started, it was nice to be a part of something that was like, okay, these guys are going to intertwine with us. But I want to get back to that with you, Luke. But right now, before we do, let's mention, hey, we got to clean this. We got to clean this panel up. Let's bring in RCG, the ring crew guy, sweeping it all.
My boy!
Whoa!
Hey!
Look at all that hair.
How's it going?
Leroy, welcome.
I miss all of you. How's it going?
There you go.
What's up, buddy?
We miss you, Leroy.
So, Leroy, of course, we're going over everything. We're a lot of fans are asking us questions here. We're going to get to that, but we want to talk to, of course, all of us here and you. What did you think of what you just saw?
I thought you guys did a great job. I thought you hit a lot of the strong points. It's hard because it's an hour.
Yes.
And there are thousands of hours worth of stories.
Right.
But it was legit. There was a lot of truth, and I dug it. I wish maybe it was a little bit harder on Rob. Because, I had 3 years of him insulting me nonstop, and so it would have been nice to have a little more. But I get it. I 100% get it, and I thought it was done really well. And you guys should give yourself the old pat on the back because it was excellent.
Hey, I've got to tell you, Joey and Luke and Mike, and you guys being a part of it, I was very the thing that touched me the most is that they did take enough time to really talk about Supreme.
Yeah,
that was great.
Yeah,
I
was surprised. I was surprised he didn't get a little memorial thing at the end like New Jack did.
That's the one mistake they made. I thought that same thing. I said, wait a minute, where's Lester? And my producer pointed out they already talked about him passing away in the show, whereas New Jack was already alive during the show. So I was like, all right, that makes sense, whatever. But yes, I agree.
I mean, you can't talk about XPW without talking about Supreme, bro. Come on.
Yeah, I thought that was the only actual mistake they made. Besides the timeline coming and going, there were a few times I'm like, I think that's off. But that was the first thing, the only thing I saw that was like, that's wrong. They should have definitely.
That actor looked a lot like Rob.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He should run the new company.
Yes.
Yeah, hey, and then going back to Supreme, man, I don't know who I was telling. I was telling Messiah. I was talking to Messiah, and I said, man, you know what? Supreme, I know him. I know he would have loved this shit because I know at least with me and Supreme, like he had an undying love for the fans. And I remember being a little harder and being like, why are you always hanging around with all these fans? I would say these marks and this and the other. But, man, he had the undying love for the fans. And I know 100%, like,
absolutely,
he would have been all about this. This would have been his jam right here, 100%, man.
I've seen him have drinks with some of the fans after his match. It was supreme. It was great.
Yeah,
that's what he was about.
Oh no! Come on,
Roy.
He got the payday.
Yeah,
he got his payday. But you know what, Joey? You just reminded me about that, and it's true. Supreme loved the fans, and I remember it was if you remember that Juan Tastico, the family had the old gig with the Mexican restaurant out there, and even after I left, after my exodus from XPW, I was still making tacos and burritos over at the old Tony's Number One. Mexican
we must have went to this guy's restaurant in the west end of the valley at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And this guy just opened the door, turned the lights on, turned the grill on, and started making these tacos. And Supreme was like, hey, what's up with those beers? And he's like, I don't know, I think you said like, you could take this beer, but not this one. And man, he went to town. I remember that. He went to town.
Closing. We were closed. It was late. I was like early morning, way after hours. And I guess we were all having a little bit of the good stuff. And they talked me into going to make tacos. Supreme talked me into going to make tacos. So we drove to the restaurant, opened up, and had a little taco party at like 2-3 in the morning.
Hey, he got heat. He got heat from his parents. Like, where the fuck's the beer? Where's all the meat? What the fuck, dude?
So speaking of Lester, Straight Hype, and a lot of people have written in throughout the course of Xtreme Memories, which is he in many ways was like the poster person, face of the company. When people want to think of a face for XPW, I mean, you can't argue that it would have been him. And this is, again, talking about all the old name talent coming in. And look, that's a long list to compete with. I don't want to say he's competing with any of you guys, but there was just something about him, not just the death matches, but he had an aura.
Yeah, he did, and I, and I don't want to discredit Joey. I think Joey and Supreme are the two faces. I can't say, and I love Supreme to death. I can't say he's just one. I think he was a staple because he was there so long from day one, and he was there to the end, and he was the deathmatch guy. But I think if I had to pick one guy, for me, it's Joey, because Joey was the well-rounded guy. Joey could do everything and go in there with everybody and make something mad. I mean, he went from pogo to no matter who the guy was, big or small, Joey was fucking putting on 5-star matches with him, and Joey was a star. So, and Supreme was definitely you can't say XPW without saying Supreme, right? But the thing is, Supreme was the deathmatch guy.
Right.
Joey was the all-around guy. Joey was the money. Right. You know what I mean? So when I look at XPW, I think Joey Chaos, me personally. But I mean, I always Supreme's right there, because without Supreme, there ain't no Joey, right? So I always be, but I just want to give, like they say, give people with roses while they're here. Joey motherfucking Chaos, you get all the roses from me, bro.
Thank you, Luke, man. I really appreciate that, man. But at the same time, hey, thank you, Luke. Like from the bottom of my heart. But Supreme was the only guy, right? We all know Rob Black, right? We all work with Rob Black. Supreme was the only guy that was like, fuck this shit, I'm out, and went to the Denny's down the street from the office, and he was like, I quit. I don't need this shit. I got a wife, I got a kid, I got my job, I don't need this shit. And I remember Rob Black running down to that Denny's and just like, please, Supreme, please come back. Please come back. And I've never seen that effect with anybody. Sabu might have left. He might have been like, whatever. But, man, Supreme was the only guy that made Rob Black chase him down and really beg him to not leave XPW. And I appreciate what you're saying, Luke, but man, Supreme, he definitely was was the face of XPW, and even he is the deathmatch guy, and he is the godfather of the death matches. But at the same time, like what I always tell people is like even guys like Supreme and definitely guys like New Jack, like they didn't just say I'm gonna be the hardcore guy or the deathmatch guy. They had to be workers first.
Right.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the Supreme story. I'll tell you the Supreme story. You know, my first death match, I was scared to death, bro, because I never did a death match before. I never bladed, and you know, I was a high flyer, and I didn't know what to do. I just didn't know what to do because I was nervous because I never did any. I had no experience in it. So, you know, when I had to wrestle Supreme, I talked to him prior. I said, look, I'm doing these matches, but I really don't want to do them. But here's my only catch is I want to add some wrestling to it and some psychology and put in, you know, because I was trying to get my wrestling up. I really wanted to focus on my wrestling and get better as a wrestler. And so he was 100% on board. He let me call the whole match. He let me do whatever the hell I wanted to do, all of those spots I wanted to get in, everything. I said, can we build up to this way? Can we build up to this way? And he was 100% on board, you know. And so yeah, you're right about that. Like he was a worker and he wanted to have the best wrestling matches possible. And it was cool because a lot of his death matches, if you go back and watch some of them, and I'm not saying this to be disrespectful, I'm just saying this to be truthful. If you watch some of the death matches, they were just kind of gory. Some of them, they didn't make sense. It would just be grab a guy, go throw him in his tub over here. Grab a guy, go throw him in his tub over here. Okay, now you bumped me off this. I'm going to go into this. And when me and Supreme worked, we would go into spots and we would build to going into something. You know, we would tease it and then build and build and then go back and watch those matches. Like, and when we compare them to the other death matches, and that was one thing I was really thankful for because I was a kid, bro. He could have told me go fuck myself, and he didn't. You know what I mean?
Rank shooter says, yeah, Supreme was the Undertaker of XPW. Messiah was Tommy Dreamer. Chaos was the RVD. But I want to correct him. Supreme was Supreme. Messiah was Messiah. Chaos was Chaos. But I get the analogy. You know, Luke. Oh, before we do that, hey. This has been phenomenal with all you guys. Speaking of phenomenal, let's introduce Phenomenal Phil.
Oh, shit.
You're bringing in the Amish roadkill of XPW.
There he is.
Hi, Phil.
There he is.
Hey, guys.
That's an insult to roadkill.
I know Luke. I know Luke is working in Hollywood, but you look like you've gone Hollywood, pal. What's with the guest?
Oh man, you know, dude, my eyes are fucked up, so I got to wear these glasses. But I've got no excuse for the hair. Sorry.
All right. Well, Phil, welcome. And really quick, Luke, I want to mention that, you know, speaking of like Supreme as a wrestler, like you were saying, Joey, I remember you, Luke, your match with Supreme, and that was like one of the rare times we saw Supreme start to wrestle, step over toe hold, key lock, you know, all these wrestling moves. I remember on commentary we were like, whoa, now this is what. And I remember Lester wanting those opportunities. I remember talking to him in the back, any opportunity he could get to like do some wrestling maneuvers, catch as catch can, he was like all for that. And you guys had a lot of that, Luke. You and him in those early matches.
It was cool, man. Because like I said, he could have told me to, you know, go screw off, but he didn't. Like he was open to my ideas about it, and I was just really concerned because I didn't want to be known as a deathmatch wrestler. I didn't want to get caught up in death matches, and I was really worried about that because I wanted to be a high flyer, right. And you know, at that time I did. You know, I wanted to reinvent high flying because you've seen guys do cool stuff, and I said, man, I could do some cool shit too. I could do some cool shit. I could put my name on this map, and I could do some things that nobody else has ever done before. And that's what I was all about. And it just ended up working out, and I'm thankful that it did.
Well, if we're thankful,
Luke can do it all, man. You've done it all, buddy.
Thank you.
Well, hey,
death match, high flying, power, everything.
Before you chime in, pal, welcome to the show. And
dude, you know I got a big mouth, man.
And second, Phil, what did you think? I want to ask everybody off the top of their head, what did you think of what you just saw?
It was really touching when Michael told Celine how he really felt during the rose ceremony. Wait a minute, what show are we talking about?
Not the Bachelor.
Hollywood.
Okay, all right, sorry, we were switching back and forth. No, I thought it was freaking-tastic, man. I only I've heard stories about like what happened after I left. I was only there for the first 9 months of XPW.
Yeah.
And I only heard secondhand of all the things that had gone on. So it was really, really neat to see everything kind of contextualized and, kind of spoken about for the full hour. And there was, there was just a lot of stories that it was great to give air to. It was really a compelling episode. I thought. I've seen some episodes of Dark Side of the Ring where I'm like, okay, they're kind of stretching it here to make a story. Not with XPW. XPW has Paul Thomas Anderson should make a fucking movie about XPW because it's got all the ingredients, everything you could possibly imagine in like a fucking cool movie is all there for XPW,
and a lot that you can't imagine.
Oh yeah, you can't talk about.
I mean, it was almost like the PG-13 version of XPW that they showed on Dark Side.
True.
That was my favorite part actually was when everyone was like, man, they were having sex on like the lunch table and like all these like crazy like you cannot imagine these stories. You can't make them up.
No.
Like multiple times.
You cannot make up.
They didn't even talk about our storyline angles. All this shit they talked about was real life.
Yeah. I got a funny story for y'all if y'all want to hear it. But before I get to the story, I want to ask a question you guys know better than me because I miss him and I always think about him. Does anybody know what's up with Angel nowadays?
He works for basically, I think, the Lake Forest Parks and Recreation. He lives down in Laguna Niguel, and he is extremely just happy and content. Not doing
awesome. If y'all see him, please tell him I said hello. I've lost track with him in touch over the years, and he was always a great guy. And I hope John's doing really well. So
and thank you, Sylvia, because I didn't know that when they say he's happy, that's the word they were using. He's happy. I didn't know. Okay, that's what's so.
Great.
Let me switch gears. Joey, you were talking about it. Anybody else want to chime in? Because I know Patrick, you were there up with General Patton, but I wanted to talk about the heat wave incident. Do you think they were correct on everything? One thing they did leave out when I remember when I was out there, New Jack came out. He was on crutches at the time. They did talk about that, but I don't remember him being with the ring crew. Now, one thing they did leave out in the defense, I'm here to defending is wrong and right on both sides, but the ring girl that was attacked, they totally left that part out because the ECW, they attacked a ring girl. And I felt like in today's climate, they wouldn't have left something like that out. And that was the one shameful thing I felt on their end. And we had stuff too that we were not correct about. But what did you think of that whole heat wave and how they portrayed it?
I mean, I definitely did mention Carnage going to his car and getting his chain and then jumping Alicia. And I even mentioned like Zach. Remember Zach? And he was like, New Jack's hitting me. And he was like, I didn't know if I should sell it or out of respect. That's what he said. That's what he said. But I mean, yeah, I think they left a lot of stuff out just to kind of tell a good story.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I specifically remember like at least 6 to 8 of the guys coming out. It was like I think it was like Roadkill. And it was like Big Sal Graciano and
Whipwreck was out there.
A bunch of guys coming out, and it was just me and Billy, Messiah. And Messiah was like, I don't know, he did this Jedi mind thing, and he was like, "Hey, this is all your fault. Well, all we did was take our shirts off. You guys started this whole shit." And they looked at each other, Balls Mahoney and all of them. They looked at each other and they just walked away. And I remember that. I told that story, and I thought like, oh well, they didn't put it on the episode because. They didn't want to let, the truth get in the way of a good story,
Right.
That night
and hey, props to Mike for wearing his Dynamite D-shirt on the show.
Yeah.
Mike. Hell yeah.
That was a great surprise to see that. Speaking of T-shirts, you know what? I got a guy that I don't know how he even got his own shirt. Oh no, let's introduce Rivera.
Oh,
Oh, look at him.
Yeah.
Let's hear
Chico.
the accent. Let's hear it.
let's hear it.
Chico. First, hey, before the accent, I'm actually watching this thing as we speak. I don't have an East Coast feed. I gotta say to Luke Hawks, dude, I am sorry, dude. I can't believe this shit. The handcuff shit.
Yeah.
Dude.
Oh, it's bullshit.
That was a crazy story, man.
What the fuck is that?
Hey, and I remember Supreme coming up to my room to check on me, and he was damn near like he was upset. And Pogo was super pissed. Pogo was really, really pissed off. Because they were my boys, and Supreme's like, and I don't know if this happened or not, but this is what Supreme told me. He's like, Rob told me my job depended on it, that I had to do this, blah blah blah. It was my spot, blah blah blah. Because I'm that guy. And he's like, I didn't want to do it, and I'm fucking sorry, and blah blah. It's all fucking bullshit. It just goes to show that the guy shouldn't be running a fucking wrestling company.
100%. I love what Joey said, that like it was brainwashing. Like that.
Yeah.
Rob, he just knew how to fucking brainwash people, man.
He ain't brainwashed me. I didn't like the
Well, he didn't brainwash me either, but he had a lot of people, like really like eating out of his hand.
Well, Larry,
doing horrible shit.
Yeah, Larry, thank you.
Wow.
Thanks,
I don't
Larry.
want to say it's a cult, because I mean it wasn't really a cult or anything, but it was like Rob just got everybody to just want to have each other's back and kind of like us against the world type of thing, and he was manipulating that type of environment.
Well, and also Sylvia, combined with that, like Joey, you were saying on the episode, man, this was combined with that. This was our shot. We were all on board. We were like, we were bleeding and dying for companies before XPW, Joey, like UIWA, SECW. So imagine, you add that to the mix. But Larry, Chico, thanks for bringing that up. And because I was going to touch on that now.
That's, what I said. I'm getting on here right now. That cuts me a commercial.
Well, now that was the thing, though. That was the whole, like it or not. That was like, Joey, you talk about that a little bit, because like you said, Luke, you got you got pummeled, man. And I remember that night, man. You were out of it. And
well, here's the thing is, I was taken advantage of. Like, it's not even a fight. Like you know what I mean? Like when you do something to take advantage of somebody where I have no defense whatsoever and I don't know what's coming, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Joey, I remember, because now, was that, if I'm not mistaken, and I want to ask you, Joey, because I seem to remember on the very first show, XPW in Reseda, that was like, and I don't know if you were even told this, Luke, at the time, but I remember like, okay, this is company policy. We don't put our hands up to block chair shots. I can't remember who you wrestled, Joey, but I want to say it was the first or second show where you took a chair shot. I still remember this, is that you took a chair shot and you put your hands up, and even during the match, you slammed the mat down because you were upset that you did that, knowing you were going to get pummeled on the next show. Is that accurate? Because I remember watching that, and I remember after the meeting in the office, like, Joey knows that he's gonna get it on the next show. Now, granted, you weren't handcuffed like Luke, but what was that? Do you remember that, like, as somewhat company policy at the time?
I mean, I don't know if I've ever heard it as company policy or anything like that. All I remember was like were the Dudley Boys swinging these fucking chairs to where the chair would open up and they would wear it like a necklace. And I don't know. And I always tell my students, man, hey, you guys are getting into wrestling. In order to do this, you got to have a little bit of crazy stupid in your head in order to do this, because, who wants to take a superplex off the top rope without your back hurting? And I remember thinking about, I want to be just like them Dudley Boys swinging them chairs and fucking cracking it over my head. Totally was a different mentality. I mean, I think there was that incredible element. I mean, I came in the back door with, if kayfabe wasn't broken at the time, I would have never broke in, but there was that element of you're still trying to keep that kayfabe alive, good,
well,
bad, ugly.
Joey, Joe, you also correct me if I'm wrong, because I feel this way about myself, so I want to speak for you in case you didn't know any better. We didn't know the damage that this shit causes long term on our bodies, right? Like you didn't realize how it was just tough. It was just, hey, you got to be tough. If you're gonna be in this business, you got to be fucking tough. That was
100%. I mean, I do how-to videos on my YouTube channel for the school, and I put how to get hit by the chair. And the first thing I say, and I get passionate about it, is don't use the chair. I used it because I wasn't creative enough. I say you guys should be more creative now, and you just actually get everything done in the ring. And I said, if you absolutely have to use the chair, you hit somebody in the back. But at the same time, I tell them this in the video. I get it. You see everybody hitting each other with chairs. You want to do it too. I don't care. It didn't matter what Terry Funk or Chris Candido told me. I didn't give a fuck. I wanted to do what I was watching. And that was it. And Chris Candido told me, why the fuck are you doing this deathmatch shit? This is too crazy. This, that, and the other. I said, you're from ECW. And then I didn't really think about it, man. This guy's just wrestling matches. But I kind of just wanted to be as badass as what I thought. And you're right, because I didn't know better. I didn't know they were working it. I wanted to be as badass as what I was watching.
Right. I want to tell y'all this funny story and liven it up a little bit. And I don't even know if I should tell this story, but I'm gonna tell it anyway.
Tell it.
Those are the best stories.
So this is and people got to realize nowadays, if you're watching this, I was just playing this, watching me and my fiance sitting on the couch, and she has no idea what XPW or any of this shit is. So she's like, "You work for a company like this?" And I'm like,
she knows
bro,
now.
My fiance, same thing. She's like, "What the fuck?"
So yeah, exactly, right. So back then we didn't have camera phones and we didn't have the internet and all that shit. It wasn't. I mean, the internet was around, but it was still dial up, and it was like the biggest thing about XPW was they had video. They were in magazines and they had videos at like Walmart and Suncoast Videos, so it was a big deal. So I would go to XPW and party like a fucking rock star on the weekends and be in Hollywood or would be in Philly or wherever. And then I'd fly home to Louisiana and go back to a construction job plumbing on Monday, and nobody would believe what the fuck I was doing, right? They thought I was full of shit because you couldn't just look the shit up online. So and we had the disposable cameras. So one show we did, we had a party in my hotel room, and I was married at the time. So one of the girls took my disposable camera and went and took a whole lot of pictures with my camera. So I didn't know this until I got the pictures developed, right? So I come home, I'm just taking pictures like me and Joey and me and Primo, me and Supreme, and me and everybody. Klaus, we got some pictures of you in there. Like whoever was on the show, I'm taking pictures of them, like, So I get the pictures developed, and here's the girl, and she's spread eagle and the fucking everything, right? I'm like, oh shit. I gotta show my friends these pictures. I gotta hide these so my wife don't find them. I gotta show my friends. So my genius ass decides to put the pictures in my glove box in my truck. And one day I'm pumping gas, and I hear, "What the fuck is this?" my now ex-wife, she's in the passenger seat. She opens up the glove box. And she pops the pictures, bro.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh my god! I almost got. I almost got murdered for that shit, bro.
Yeah.
I almost got murdered for that shit.
That's why you were from the murder capital of the country.
That's why I'm from the murder capital of the country, baby.
So, good thing she didn't see the photos of Klaus in there. She would have thrown
Hey, but I had something to show my friends. Look, I ain't lying to you. I'm really doing this shit. Look at these pictures. Look at these pictures.
So that, like you said, Sylvia, they can make a movie out of this. And look at that scene right there is just classic right there. But hey, we're gonna go to some of these fans' questions. And if you guys want to chime in, if you see something, opinion on Kevin Kleinrock. Kevin Kleinrock, I'll just start off saying, like, almost want to say maybe the secret weapon of XPW. Not an unsung hero. Everybody knew what he did, but really, man, there's a lot of creativity. And when I would go into the office every Wednesday night, weekly, Rivera, you too, Wantastico, but I mean, you remember it was fascinating watching them, him and Rob on the blackboard, just kind of mapping everything out. And Kevin Kevin, man, he did so much research. I remember he had at Big Vision Entertainment, he had this big Time Life book on the history of race relations in the entire history of the world. And he would from the Black Panthers to the KKK to the Taliban, like he would literally study this like it's his major in college. And it was pretty impressive, dude.
And he worked for like the #1 racist of all time.
Right. But your guys' opinion on Kevin himself. We worked with him not only in XPW, Wrestling Society X, and all sorts of shows. Shout out to Kevin right now. He opted out as well of Dark Side of the Ring.
I think he should have. You know, and the reason I think he should have is because that's a part of his life that he doesn't want to bring up. Really, not saying he wasn't proud of the things some of us done and working with all of us, but it was just a different time in his life. Right. And I think that Kevin really loved wrestling. I don't think Kevin loved the other end of so much. It was just a part of a job that made him a decent amount of money, a good living, where he can focus on what his true love was wrestling. And seeing guys like Joey and D and all the SoCal guys that he had relationships with come up and build. And, you know, I came up later than those guys, but I mean, Kevin's one of my best friends. I talk to Kevin every week. I have for years. I stood in Kevin's wedding, you know, and I'm very close with Kevin. I have a lot of respect for him, and I wouldn't even brought his name up. Me personally, I'm not saying he did anything wrong. I'm just saying I wouldn't have, because I know he just doesn't want to be attached to that stuff anymore. But you know, the good stuff that came out of XPW was because of Kevin. It was because of Kevin and GQ Money, because those guys were passionate. You know,
that's why I think he probably should have did the episode. I know a lot of guys have their reasons for not doing it, but. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Hey, you did what you did, and you know it's not like people are gonna shit on you for it. You know, like you said, Kevin Kleinrock wasn't about all the porn and shit. He was about making good wrestling. He was about like I remember talking to him and saying, "Man, I want to make this a go," and he was like, "That's what I want to do." And I remember me and him were the same age. He's it's just I was a wrestler, but he was the one running the shit. And you know, I think he should have. He definitely should have. You know, at least told his piece. But you know, I know he was real close to Rob, and at least at the time, you know, he was up in the shit. And you know, maybe I guess at the end of the day, maybe you're right, Luke. He shouldn't have said anything. But you know, I love Kevin Kleinrock 100%. Man, he's helped me out so much. He's a guy that just unselfishly just puts me and my school over 100% all the time. And man, you know, I want the world for him, and I want to see just him you know, bust all his Mass Republic projects out there and do the thing, you know, because he's actually doing some incredible shit with licensing and stuff like that. And you know, shout out to Kevin Kleinrock, man. I love you, brother. You know,
absolutely,
and
absolutely. I have so much respect and admiration for that guy. I mean, he is the ultimate producer. I mean, Rob would say, "This is what I want." Kevin would make magic.
He would deliver.
Make it happen.
And he had a mind, man. He had a mind for this business like no other that I've ever worked with. And you talked, Joey, about his selflessness. And I remember, and comment on this, guys, because I remember him saying once, look, he didn't want to take credit for, okay, everything good that came out of XPW was me. Everything bad that came out of XPW was Rob Black. And I remember him saying, and is this part of his selflessness? You guys say, but he remembers saying that's a broad stroke and it's an unfair characteristic, I guess, just to say it broadly. But I want to say he said this to me when we were talking on the phone, when he had his reservations of doing Dark Side. He had many reasons why not to do it. Like you said, Luke, he's doing things with a company that's involved with family entertainment and etc. But is that his way, being selfless, or does he have a point there where it's like, it's not just everything good came from me and everything bad came from Rob? It was more a marriage between our minds, but maybe one would be, I don't know.
No, let's clarify, because I don't, and I'm just, look, I'm gonna stand up for Kevin 100% here. Kevin didn't do wrong shit, you know, and Kevin didn't like being involved with anything that he thought was negative but he tried his best to weave his way about it because he always wanted to care about us, the guys. Yeah. You know what I mean? He cared so much about his performers and the guys in the wrestling side of things. And he knew that we had the potential opportunity to go really big with the company if things would have stayed on track and did the right things. But, you know, there was so much stuff that honestly, you know, that was going on backstage behind the scenes from the other end that it was destined to get derailed, right? But Kevin wanted to see us succeed. And you know, and I understand that, right? Because when you're in a situation and you're working for somebody else and you really don't have the control to do exactly what you want, but you got control and you got power, but you don't have the control to do exactly what you want. Sometimes you got to play ball, and that's just what Kevin did. And Kevin played ball enough to get his guys.
Yeah.
What's the right word I'm looking for? I guess a notoriety that they deserved and that they were working so hard for. You know, that's what Kevin was doing. And so I really respect that of him. Yeah. And if you know Kevin Kleinrock, I don't want to get this misconstrued at all, because Kevin was such a good person and such a dear and a genuine person.
100%.
Yeah. He was a very hardworking, loving family man.
Never complained.
Never complained. He never complained. He just wanted the best for
long hours.
Yes. So
great attitude.
He took a lot of little, verbal abuse from Rob during the shows. I would hear it in my earpiece while I'm in the ring. But he never complained. He wanted this to succeed. Everybody to succeed.
He wanted us to succeed. He wanted everything. He wanted to succeed, but it wasn't about Kevin. He was making it about us. So
absolutely, 100%.
I will tell you how good of a guy Kevin is, and I've never told this story before. I'm hijacking the show, but I got a lot to get off my chest with some of these things, especially when it's personal like that with a guy like Kevin. When checks were bouncing, I don't know how many checks bounced on you guys and how many shows y'all did where y'all didn't get paid. Kevin took videos, wrestling videos, and he said, "Hey, I sent you some videos. One video I want you to open." He sent me cash out of his own pocket to pay me for a show that Rob owed me money for, that he sent me in a fucking wrestling video. He sent me a stack of wrestling videos, and he put cash inside of one of the videos just to make sure that I got taken care of, because he knew I got fucked on pay. So, and that's the kind of guy. And I was struggling at the time. I was struggling. You know what I mean? Like I said, I was working a 9-to-5 job, trying to make it as a wrestler. So that's the kind of guy Kevin Kleinrock is.
One of my favorite people.
Wow. Before we get to our next question, anybody else want to chime in quickly about Kevin?
Yeah, let me say a little something real quick. I can tell you in this business, the people that get in the ring, they love wrestling because they're putting their body on the line. Joey, Phil, Luke, Leroy, that we love wrestling because we get in the ring. Sylvia, we get in the ring, so we love this business. It's something else with guys like Larry, Kris, with Mike, with Kevin. You talk to those guys, Patrick, when to find out somebody really loves wrestling and they're not like in the ring, you just got to sit down across from them for like 5 minutes. And when I first met Kevin, the very first time I met Kevin was like the very first time I met Mike Hartsfield. I just knew these guys love wrestling. Like, look at what Kevin and Mike put up with. You took a job at what would be an undesirable company doing adult films, which is probably an undesirable title you want to keep. But you know what? You did all that so that you could live your dream of working in professional wrestling. Okay, fine. I'll take an 8-hour gig that turns out to be a 10 to 12-hour gig making porn, just so I can spend the other half of 24 hours working in wrestling. And that's exactly what it was. When I first met Mike Hartsfield, when I first met Kevin Kleinrock, I knew these guys love wrestling because you just sitting there talking to them for 5 minutes, man, these guys love wrestling. And that I know that Kevin, aside from everything Luke said, 100%, everything that Luke said, but aside from that, to add to that, just I know that he loves wrestling, just like Mike. He definitely loves wrestling.
Yep. One of my favorite people on this planet.
He should have been the first action figure.
Oh, after Sylvia goes, I've got a quick Kevin story. I think Sylvia's got one too.
Well, basically, all I wanted to say about Kevin is I don't know if you guys want to agree or not, but to me, he was almost like the backbone of XPW.
Oh yeah.
He basically, the way he put up with a lot of the wrestling shit, and working in the office for both the porn side and the wrestling side, I saw the way he, it's like we owed money to everything, whether it was, porn production or replication or authoring or anything with the DVDs. But Kevin would put his ass so much on the line to make sure that everything would be smooth on the porn side, to make sure that everything was good on the wrestling side. So, and I mean, his first and foremost was to make sure that all the boys succeeded. And that, that was everything from the wrestlers, the announcers, Klaus and Rivera, and the referees, Patrick. And, I mean, it was like Kevin he sacrificed so fucking much, even to the point where his first wedding was overtaken by a lot of his porn people. And a lot of us got a little too shit-faced, but that's another story. But, Kevin, like I said, first and foremost, and even to this day, is all about taking care of the boys, whether it's from XPW or Mass Republic or everything in between, Big Vision and WSX. Everything about him has always been taking care of the boys first and foremost. And that's the one thing I have so much respect for him for.
I agree.
And Mike,
absolutely.
Yeah. Mike Hartikel.
Yeah. Just to add on, this is the Kevin hour. When people talk about,
we love Kevin,
or when people ask about XPW or anything, I think of the boys and Kevin. I don't really think of Rob, and not in a way to exclude him, but I didn't interact with him and I didn't learn anything from him. Like with Kevin, I learned incredible work ethic. Like I saw the hours he put in, I wanted to put those hours in. I saw his level of dedication, and like Sylvia and we were talking about around Thanksgiving, like sleeping at the office, sleeping in the ring, and it's sadly the Thanksgiving show that year was the worst. The attendance was horrible. Is the guy you want to learn in every aspect. Like Luke was
Mike needs to pay his internet bill.
Gentleman featured.
Mike, you're breaking up there. Are you still there?
Gentleman featured.
Spit it out. Spit it out.
Which
I think he's ribbing us.
Mike, fix the radio.
I think he wants to say that Kevin was a good guy.
Yeah.
That's what
Bob Black put out his
Max, Mike.
What are the odds that you freeze
quickly.
when you're
All right,
fucking
is it
making
working?
the point? Jesus.
Mike Head.
Oh, he's back. He's
There
back.
you go.
Say you were going to say something, Joey.
is it working?
And you know what? At the same time, man,
Okay.
100%. Oh, hey, you're back, Mike?
Quick. So there was.
Almost.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
Almost there. Well, I'll say my piece.
Almost there, Mike. Almost.
At the same
production
time,
guys.
without Patrick Hernandez, man, and the late great Dynamite D, and Kevin Kleinrock's part of that group right there. But without you three guys,
The three.
and there would be no XPW.
Right.
And at the same time, someone just asked me the other day, Patrick, and they said, "Who's the best referee you ever been in?" And without hesitating, I say Patrick Hernandez.
Patrick Hernandez.
And 100%.
We love Patrick too.
And,
We love Pat.
And the reason being is, man, whenever I'd be in the ring and maybe I fuck up and they'd be like, "You fucked up" or whatever, and Pat would always be like, "It's okay. You're gonna get them back. You're gonna get them right back." And I always, whenever I train referees, Pat, man, I always tell them that, like, you gotta encourage these wrestlers, because sometimes, man, they get so deflated and everything sucks, man. But when you got that ref telling you, man, we're in this shit together. This is not just your match and the wrestler's match, but this is my match too, and we're in this together, and you're gonna get them back. And that always like gave me the encouragement I needed to finish the match or whatever the case was. And yeah, and just like Luke said, man, giving the flowers out, I just wanted to say, like, hey, Pat Hernandez, man, every time someone asks me, I always tell my refs, man, you got to watch Patrick Hernandez, because that was the best.
I appreciate that. All you guys. Yeah.
And Patrick, you had to deal with Rob constantly in your ear. Like, he would not shut up. He was just constantly going, and you had to like process it and referee a match at the same time.
Take it home. Take it the fuck home. I've told people.
Tell him to shut up and tell him to get off the microphone.
That all you guys, and I'm talking about the local guys, the indie guys that came into XPW, even before XPW, you guys helped me become the ref that I wanted to be. Without you guys, I'm not talking about the stars that came in later on. Again, way before XPW. I owe it all to you guys. You know, I wanted you guys to succeed and on the biggest stage. But all you guys worked so hard and would thank me, and Joey, Luke, Phil, everybody. We would hit the big home run, and we get back to the dressing room, and we just talk about and thank each other. But again, it's like you guys made me. Now, and I will always say that till the day I die, because I love this business. I really do. And you guys helped me become that referee.
Well, Patrick,
you talked me into joining XPW, and like just listening to that, like how could anyone say no to you? Like, give me a break. You are so sincere, buddy.
Patrick,
genuine.
You talk about the homegrown guys, Phil. Thank you for that. And because Patrick, I remember thinking that you also made the matches very believable. You were this enforcer that, man, you believed it like you're watching a baseball or basketball game, a real referee. And okay, you talk about the homegrown guys, but I will say, like, I remember when all the guys did start coming in, when we went to Philadelphia and you were working with John Finnegan, who was ECW head official. And man, you already were like at home. It didn't seem like, oh, these stars are in here with this indie ref. And on the contrary, look, dude, we're not all blowing smoke here, man. Like, people say, who's the best ref? And I say, Patrick, and they're like, yeah, the best ref in XPW. I'm like, no, dude, I mean, really one of the best refs I've ever seen.
He was excellent.
But question for you, Patrick, coming in here from Jefferson Darcy. Okay. By the way, Sylvia, you mentioned Kevin was the backbone of XPW, and unfortunately the company folded. I mean, the guy was a twig,
Kevin always getting shit.
Kevin, defend yourself, Kevin. Come on, man.
Kevin, get on here.
It's a joke, of course. I love Kevin. We all love him, man. Question for you, Patrick. What was your most memorable moment in XPW, if you have one?
It had to be Supreme and Messiah at the sports arena, the death match.
Yeah.
I mean, they worked so hard. And Luke Hawk touched on this earlier. They knew how to tell the story. They knew how to tease certain spots. To hear the crowd in that sports arena just going crazy, I knew that these guys were telling the story the right way, and they worked their butts off. And for me, that has to be my number one for sure.
Also, Patrick, we grew up in LA, where that was one of our first experiences at the LA Sports Arena. That had to play a part in it too, no?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're right. I think to see these two guys at the historic LA Sports Arena, I mean, that says it all right there. These guys have made it to the big time. They're tearing the house down. And I remember when that match was over, and I can hear, once we got back to the dressing room, and I can hear the buzz backstage, like, oh, great. Now what are we going to do? It's like, how can you top that? I mean, that says a lot,
You can't be performing in front of your hometown crowd on a major stage, and it's your major stage. You know what I mean? Like everybody wants to make it. Everybody has fun performing. I don't care what anybody says. As a performer, like you ask me, where would I rather perform? The New Orleans Arena, sold out crowd, or Madison Square Garden? Madison Square Garden, sold out crowd. I'm going to pick the New Orleans Arena because that's more, that's more meaningful to me because I came up in New Orleans. I grew up in New Orleans, so that's the same thing with them two, being LA guys and being in their backyards in front of that crowd. And I wasn't there. That wasn't a show for me, but I'm just saying, I know what it's like as a performer. I want to perform in front of my hometown where I came up through the ranks at. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Like, I don't want to go. I love performing everywhere. Don't get it twisted. But if I had my choice, I'm performing in front of my people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think that is something special for as a performer, as an athlete, like all of you guys are. I think there is a special moment in there where, you know what, I want to perform in front of my home crowd. I think that says a lot. I think that's a very big deal for each individual. Everyone thinks of that, to be in front of their home crowd and you know, to perform to the very best of their abilities. You know, I think it's a big thing. Absolutely.
And it's where we grew up watching wrestling, WrestleMania 2, WrestleMania 7. And it was just, man, so surreal. And I think that was an integral part of the company's history, is that we were all doing that. And that lit the fire under me, at least. And a lot of the guys that kind of took it to the next level. And that was one of those moments that they're not going to touch on Dark Side of the Ring per se. But man, like you said, Luke, New Orleans Arena, or what we were doing at the LA Sports Arena, I mean, I still never had a feeling like that wherever we went, even when we went back to Philly, you know. And at Rivera, you commented before when we talked about the same was said for you, but more so at the Olympic Auditorium, because you go back a little farther when it was the territory days still.
Yeah. And just going back to the Luke chair thing, man, putting your hands up in those days, that was part and parcel for the course, man. That just, you know, that was part of the suspension of disbelief. If the guy put his hands up when he gets a chair shot, that's what happened, you know. And every once in a while he'd come out with a balsa wood chair during the Piper days, you know. That would go straight through the head. But you know, doing those shows at the Olympic, man, it was you know, those ghosts were flying around, man. I wasn't joking. You know, it was,
how cool is it? And I don't know, it's a testament to Rob or Kevin or whoever. Reseda Country Club, Grand Olympic, LA Sports Arena, the Palace, Viking Hall. My God, what a who's who of fucking arenas.
And Strongbow Stadium, don't forget.
Oh, hell yeah.
Strongbow.
Seaside Park, don't forget.
Okay, Chaos, why did you have to drop the TV title to Sean Waltman, and how did it make you feel after that? You had such an incredible run as champion. It was a shame it ended the way it did, or the way it ended.
You know, I think that's the way the storyline went. I think about it now. Maybe Smiley and I tried out for Tough Enough. I don't know if I got heat for that to drop it.
Right.
But I should have never gave the belt to Sean Waltman. I should have held on to it, and I think he would have had no problem with that. And then I would have probably still have the belt today. I think he said he lost it. He put it in his grandma's garage, and then from there on out, it's been lost ever since. So I don't know who actually has the original XPW title.
Well, me personally, I've had no. Oh, someone said we.
Jack Mayhofer.
Jack Mayhoff. that was. Oh,
he's a wrestling fan.
That was one of the guys that used to work at Xtreme. I remember Jack Mayhoff. But well, we personally have no clue who Dave Marquez was involved with XPW 20 years ago. I only knew of him through NWA Hollywood. Okay, so Dave Marquez was in this show. Personally, I seem to remember him on one, maybe two. He was at Pico Rivera, and I remember the story was him and Kevin made a blunder in the truck, and Rob stormed in and almost threw a chair at Dave, and I don't know if it hit him, but I just remember that. And
he blocked it with his Emmy.
I don't remember.
That's right.
Wow. I don't remember him. I do not remember him editing porn. And if he did.
I don't remember him editing porn either. No. And I was there the entire time he was there.
Right. So, and I know he.
I talked to that motherfucker too, and I tell him, man, I don't remember you fucking being there. But he says he was there, man.
Okay.
Says,
Dave's
oh yeah. And then there's her story. There's her story.
Okay.
Hey, she got him booked on the show, to be honest.
Hey,
Oh,
yeah, she did. She got him booked on the show.
No, okay.
Oh, so it's your fault.
I got it off away from Mike because me and Mike shared the flame office in the front, and they put me in the like little back corner, little office with my dog Bruiser because he was too loud. Dave and I forgot his partner's name. They actually did have porn on their editing bay because they were in the office right next to me. Whether they were watching it or editing it, I do not know. But I did see smidgets here and there. So yes, he was there briefly, and he did have porn on his editing bay. So in his defense.
I don't remember that motherfucker being there, to be honest. Maybe once or twice, to be honest.
Yeah, he was there. My memories of him being there were he hated what XPW was, which is one of the reasons I didn't like him. But to go back to that story I was trying to tell about Luke and Kevin is there was a guy we were just talking about who bounced a check on me, who was featured on the episode tonight, which we were just talking about. A guy by the name of Dave Marquez bounced a check on me, and I was trying to track him down. And Kevin was like, well, how much money does he owe you? And I told him, and Kevin goes, oh, I'll send it to you because I owe him money. So Kevin made Marquez's check good by sending me the money instead of sending it to Marquez. So
nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin.
I'm still owed some money from XPW. Maybe Kevin.
Oh, Rob's running again, so
yeah.
I didn't get paid once. You guys were getting paid.
Oh shit! Yes, that's true. Prime time.
Memories.
Special form of payment, cheap.
There it is. I was waiting for that to come back.
In the back room, Chico. Somebody waiting for you.
Rivera. So thank you guys for that, because that was a lot of people have been asking what was his involvement, all this. Like I said, I remember him helping with production for one, maybe two shows, but that was it. And like you said, we were always in the office. If we would have remembered him having a job there, it would have been remembered. Even like if he was there for a week, I would have remembered that. But they had, I don't know, they had guys, their porn, they had all that in place. They didn't need anybody else to edit. But
why was he interviewed?
I had no idea.
He probably reached out to them.
Yeah, Sylvia mentioned to the guy.
No idea who this guy was.
Sylvia mentioned to the guy Stu Stone, who I know.
Mike, you want to back me up on this?
And she said, "Hey, did you guys talk to Dave Marquez?" And Stu Stone knows Dave Marquez like the back of his hand, and he goes, "What? Dave Marquez was part of this?" And next thing you know, he was on the show.
Well, it's funny because Marquez is like he's like Jim Cornette. He's anti all hardcore, and it was more puzzling why he was on, not upset about it, just more puzzling. And
he added nothing.
I remember when Wrestling Society X started, he was just in the office. All of a sudden, he just appeared there every day and wanted to be a part of it, but he wasn't into that type of wrestling. I think he just wanted anything SoCal. He wanted to be a part of it, and he was, and that's fine. But I was just more puzzled than anything else. But I can't skip this one out, guys. And again, Mike Hartsfield, the Tickle action with the T-shirt, Dynamite D. Your guys' memories quickly of Darren, Dynamite D. You mentioned Patrick and Joey, or Patrick. You mentioned Phil. That look, man. If there was no Dynamite D, there would be no XPW. You were in that group, Patrick. There you go. Thank you, Joey.
He gave me the opportunity.
You were in that group. It was yourself, Patrick, Dynamite D, and Kevin Kleinrock that were basically the guys in charge of SCCW, which kind of unofficially became XPW. But your thoughts on D, please?
Again, he opened up a huge door for me personally when he was wrestling at Slammer's Wrestling Gym, and he was the head trainer, and I was just a fan. I would go to the Gym War matches, and when they lost their referee, the guys already knew me. sitting at ringside, and Dynamite, came up to me and he basically told me, "Hey, you want to be a referee?" And and that was it, and he trained me, and the rest of the boys helped out, and I've always looked up to him when I needed advice when it came to this business. He groomed me. He they threw me right out there once they thought I was ready. They threw me right out there. Every Thursday night we would travel to Strongbow Stadium in Bakersfield, and I was the only referee. But I would always talk to Dynamite. He would always give me helpful information, and I owe a lot to him. And when it came to the SCCW, he was just a hard worker. He knew how to make other wrestlers look great. That's how he was. He loved this business. He respected this business, and I miss him all the time. I'm in that ring. I always have him with me because he opened up a lot of doors for me, and I'm very grateful for that.
There's a few people in my life that like really, really had a huge impact on me and really helped shape who I am. And Darren's definitely one of them. I mean, I grew up fucking listening to him on the cable radio network, ended up, becoming a peer of his, and then later, became a friend of his. I talk to him all the time. Just what a loss, man. I think about him all the time. I mean, Southern California wrestling owes such a debt of gratitude to him.
Yeah, when I came into XPW, I was 17, still learning about the world, and he taught me so much about wrestling, but he taught me so much about life. And it was one of the best people that I could have ever learned anything from. And I respect him and miss him dearly. And he's touched a lot of people in a lot of wonderful ways, and deserves all the respect and more that he could ever get.
Did you, Luke, did you cross paths with him? But wait, before you answer that, sorry, let's welcome, he has returned. He has come back to grace us all. It's the Messiah. Billy, welcome.
All right, Billy. Bravo, brother. Bravo.
Hey, guys.
What's up, Billy?
Billy, make a dramatic entrance. Yeah. Sorry, guys.
We got a little mini battle royal right here already.
Yeah. Hey, Billy, really quick, we're talking about Darren. Before we get into Dark Side, do you want to share just a quick memory of D?
Of D? I mean,
yes.
Dude, the first time I ever met D, he it's when I was at Slammers and Vern Langdon said, "Yeah, hey D, I want to introduce you to our newest trainee. This is Billy." And D came out and he put his hand and he goes, "How's it going, Billy? Dynamite D, world's greatest wrestler." I was like, "Okay, cool, all right." D was great. I mean, I miss D terribly, and I mean, D is responsible. Anytime I do an interview and they ask me how XPW started, I always make sure I mention D and Patrick. It's basically it was that what was it? Southern California Championship Wrestling, I think it was. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and D doesn't get the credit that he deserves. He doesn't. I mean, and he was kind of ahead of his time, but
way ahead of his time. He had a podcast before the podcast even existed.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, I wonder what D would have thought about, the XPW episode. Because I know D has his own stories or had his own issues,
right?
There while he was there. But, he was great. I think I know D would be incredibly proud of Joey and everything he's doing at Santino's, and I make sure to mention that anytime I do an interview as well. I think, with D, you could see like there's little seeds, it's just he taught something to somebody and then they teach it to somebody, and Joey's like living proof of that. So D will never be forgotten,
Right.
There's always little things of him here or there when I watch wrestling. I'm like, oh, D did that once. Or D's the guy who also told me never do anything on TV because they'll steal it. Like, okay. I'm like, all right, cool, all right. But nowadays, I wonder how D would react because everything is on an iPhone, and there's no way you can not do something and nobody see it. So,
It was
Yeah.
almost like he left us right when that transition was changing in the wrestling world. You know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
really right when, bam, everything really started to change. I asked you, Luke, because I don't know the answer to this, but did you cross paths with D when you came in?
I knew D. I didn't know him well like these guys knew him, but he was always a real sweetheart to me. He was good, and you know, I was fortunate enough to spend some time with him, and I knew how much the guys respected him, which made me respect him right away, right? Because like I knew I respected those guys, and I seen those guys, especially like guys like Joey. Like Joey used to talk about him all the time and talk to him, so I seen that. So like it was an automatic respect thing for me. I got a really quick question for Billy. Billy, how long has it been since you wrestled?
Since I wrestled?
Yeah, your last
like,
match.
Where I actually like wrestled, or where I just got in the ring?
Yeah, like when you actually wrestled, like when you were booked on the show.
I honestly don't. Dude, I honestly don't know. It was either in Texas or it was CZW, because I did a thing for Sage Sin, but that was dude. I wish I had an answer for you. I really, it's been years, man. It's been years.
Yeah. The only reason I asked is because when you said something just now, you talked about an interview and it just hit me. I said, motherfucker, all this stuff. Who would have thought like 20 years later we'd be doing interviews for this shit? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
Look at God, crazy, huh?
Yeah. The one thing I will say is, dude, okay, change your camera, Luke, because I know you're just trying to show off your arms. So, come on, man. You're making the rest of us look bad, man.
I think Billy needs to go out to New Orleans. You guys need to, like, get back in the ring, brother.
Hey, that'd be a great match. Messiah.
We never saw that.
Yeah.
Luke and I did it.
One more match. One more match.
You heard it here first.
Actually, it wasn't worth a shit because I didn't have a good attitude at the time, and it was CZW, which I wasn't happy with being there.
Yeah, that's back when I was bigger than Luke. So that's probably how long ago it was.
Yeah,
Brian Moxley wants everyone to know here. Definitely appreciate this panel. That's all here together. Very awesome, and we got a lot of those. We can't pop every question. My first introduction to XPW was seeing them in Wow magazine ads and buying VHSs at Tower Records. Damn, I feel old.
But Chris, I just want to say a little bit about Dynamite D, and
please.
And it's great hearing the stories from everybody, because that's just how I felt. Like I was just some punk kid, and me and Dynamite D even butted heads. Like he was like, "How can you ain't helping with the ring?" And I'm like, "I'm a wrestler," But man, Dynamite D, like he didn't have to, and I think everyone's got that same story, man. He didn't have to, but he took me as a punk kid and just gave me like so much information, just fed me so much knowledge that. Because you guys know I came in the back door. Me and Supreme, man, we didn't have like great like trainers or a school or anything like that. And Dynamite D was a guy that was willing enough to just give me this information, and I've always been grateful to his mom Edie, and she gave me a box of his stuff one day, and I pulled it out. And I was already running the school, Santino Brothers, and I ran the school because, I talked to Dynamite D, and this is what Jake Lawless called me, and he was like, "You got to go see him," and I had no clue he was in the hospital. Yeah. And we started talking about wrestling, and he was like, "Keep the dream alive," and that's kind of what pushed me to start the Santino Brothers Wrestling School, and but just Dynamite D, like when Edie gave me this box of stuff, I found this. It's like literally, I found this little ripped up piece of paper, and it said like lesson 14, and it told what it was, like atomic drop and this, that, and the other. Lesson 15, and it told what it was, and it said lesson 16, and then it was like kind of ripped in half. And I had this, and I asked her, I said, "What?" I said, "What is this?" And she said, "This is the curriculum that Dynamite D wrote when he was training at Slammers." And the light bulb just went off in my head. And I said, I have to write a curriculum, because before that, we were just training people. Like, you know how it is, just train people. And Dynamite D, even after he had passed, he had gave me that little yellow piece of paper and told me, this guy right here, like he told me, like, you have to write a curriculum. you know, if you want to teach these kids, and you know, all I've ever tried to do with Santino Brothers is just try to be half the trainer, mentor, coach that Dynamite D was to all you guys and everything. And I'm still busting my ass, and if it weren't for Dynamite D, I miss that, just like you guys, man. I miss that guy dearly, and I just wish he was here, man. I totally do. I totally do.
Dynamite D was one of the best guys, truly a good human being, came in. The match between New Jack versus Dynamite D was nice. Started off with technical mat wrestling, then went extreme. New Jack couldn't help himself. But yeah, that was one of those moments where Dynamite got the best out of someone who you would never expect to get the best out of.
Oh,
My first introduction to XPW was, as you know, through Lazy, and he invited me to a show at the Palace, and I don't know if it was the main event, but there was Messiah and Dynamite D, and
that's when I debuted.
And Lazy was nudging me to come to work, and after I saw that match, I said, all right, I'm in. So you're responsible, Billy.
Oh no, well that was all D, man. That was all D. D made me look like $1 million, man. He could have totally made me, you know, sandbag me or not make me look good, but you know, it's like you guys all know.
That was an excellent match.
Yeah, that was all D, man. He if it wasn't for D, you know, I might have got lucky and not have been Messiah, but I mean, we had a good match, so I got stuck as Messiah. So there you go.
So Billy,
could have been worse. You could have been an altar boy.
Yeah.
I want to get into you, Billy, because I want to ask you what you thought about the episode. There's Jack Me Off Again. Messiah had a few thing with promotions with Dark Side, did they ask you? I think they're talking about Gary Yap. What was your involvement with him, and how did that happen with anything you want to clear up with that?
No,
with
none of
him?
your fucking business is what I'll say. No, there's no, there's nothing to say with that. I mean, it's
okay.
Yeah, it's not like the story that people want to make it out to be. I mean, it's more. There's a lot more stuff going on, but I mean, I'll talk about anything, but dude, that's right. There's nothing to talk about with that. Yeah.
I want to thank you for that, because when I interviewed you, people a lot of compliments about your interview, and so thank you from the get-go. But I think
Billy, what grace you have, man.
What's up?
What you've got such grace, and you are like, you know, I have a tremendous amount of respect. I think I told Kris, I was like, man, your interview with Billy, you guys should win like some fucking award for that, because it was so riveting. You were so honest and so candid, and you've got this like this forgiveness that I mean, it's
all a gimmick. It's just all a gimmick.
Well, I bought it, and I respect you, buddy.
No, honestly, I mean, I should just keep my mouth shut most of the time, but
you do have the most famous penis in XPW, though. I must say.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Dark Side.
You know, after I watched the episode, man, one of the first things I did was text Billy, and like I just told him, I love you, brother, because just hearing your story and just watching the episode and everything, man, just, you know, it brought up a lot of shit that, you know, I even watched the Wrestling Chatter with you and Kris Claus, but just watching it again, it just always brings it up and just really pulled at my heartstrings, you know, and just, you know, I just love you, brother, and I'm just glad that you're here, and, you know, because, you know, shit could have been fucked up, and, man, I love you. I love you, Billy.
Thank God, man.
No, you know
we love you, Billy. Thank God.
Yeah. You know, I love you. I love you guys too. But I mean, when it boils down to it, dude, I fucked up. I mean,
no, you didn't.
Hey,
no, you didn't.
You're 21. You're 21. Like you live in this lifestyle. You can't tell me another 21-year-old who have been in that same lifestyle and be like, no, I'm not going to indulge in shit. Like, you know what I mean?
Here's
Like,
the thing. What's funny?
You got used, bro. Like,
here's the thing that's funny. Like when I did the sit down with Vice, you know, they asked me probably the same standard questions they asked you, which were like, did you see anything at the office? And honestly, I was like, no, I don't remember seeing anything like weird as far as like, you know, a chick eating chicken in the pool getting peed on. Like, I don't remember.
There was one?
Yeah, I honestly don't remember seeing like that.
I saw that.
But you know, at the time, and Vice, I mean, as far as the episode goes, I mean, they cut a lot of stuff out to make it look like I was having a continuous sentence. And that's what they do, and it's to be expected. But you know, I told him, I said, you know, being a 40-something-year-old guy and looking back 20 years, you know, I can totally see it. I was living in a friggin' garage. My family wasn't around me. My friends that I had since childhood, they weren't wrestling people. They like to go snowboarding and wakeboarding. You know, I didn't have anybody to confide in or anything like that. And the people that I would share things with were like Supreme and Dee and Joey. And I didn't tell them anything that was going on. You know, it was just, I mean, I was a 23-year-old kid, and I think I just got caught up in something. And I mean, Vice made me look like a man whore. But
well, you had a rocket ship on your ass, Billy. Let's be honest. You had a rocket ship on your ass. They were pushing you, and you tell me, and nobody can tell me, like, really. I mean, how many kids that you know that get success at a young age that don't do something, you know, they wouldn't do necessarily when they're 40, right?
Yeah, I mean,
come on.
It just, again, I don't beat myself up about it. It is what it is. I take responsibility for my part in it. Like I said, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it didn't stop me from wrestling or doing what I wanted to do. I mean, that's the bottom line when it comes to, you know, after what happened to me. But yeah, I mean, like, dude, sometimes I honestly, after I do an interview, like after I sat down with Kris, or even when I sat down with Vice, it's like I'm driving home going, man, just shut your goddamn mouth. Like, dude, you don't need to, like, and maybe it's a form of therapy for me where I can like spew all the crap out.
Well, I appreciate it because this is the first time like I've even got to hear like majority of the story, because I think you and I have probably talked about it in the past, but it's always kind of, I don't bring it up, you don't bring it out, so things don't talk about, because, you know, certain things are kind of taboo. So I learned things from watching, and I was like, oh, it's nice to finally hear somebody say something, and especially to hear from you. So I'll tell you, I appreciate you talking about it. So I don't know what everybody else does, but I'm thankful that you said things, and it doesn't justify the actions that happen against you as well. You know what I mean?
And I told, and this is, I mean, the thing that happened to me, the Lizzie thing played a very small part in it, I believe. The reason everything happened was because, one, and I take full responsibility for it. You know, I had a big mouth, and you know, Rob was trying to intimidate me when he could, and I would hear things from the office and blah blah blah, or whatever new rumor was coming out of that place, and it was just pissing me off to no end, because when everything happened originally with the Lizzie thing, I mean, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to deny it, and because in the back of my head, I thought I was being like the good guy, like, okay, hey, I fucked up. I know I'm out of the company, whatever it is. But, you know, I'm not going to go and say anything, and then I would hear little things, or I would hear so-and-so made a comment about something, and it just started eating away at me. Yeah. And like the thing that I said at that show with She Loves It, I had no intentions of going out there and saying anything like that. I was getting on the mic and do whatever promo it was supposed to be at the time. But New Jack had just gone out before me and was all pissed off at Rob and XPW for unpaid whatever it was, and he had I think he had like a bounce check with him in the ring and everything, and and then New Jack threw me in there going, and Messiah did it whatever with Lizzie Borden, or diddled, or did the hee-haw, or whatever the hell he said with Lizzie Borden, and that just got the fans even more riled up. Yeah. And then I go out there and I'm all heated up as it is, and they start chanting that, and I just open my mouth like I shouldn't, and that spews out. And as soon as I said it, in the back of my head, I went, "Oh, God damn it, Billy!" Like, but you know, the straw that broke the camel's back is when I went to that XPW show.
Yeah.
I honestly
love
believe
that you did that, man. I love that you did that.
Well, dude, I didn't even go. I wasn't going to go, but GQ Money gave me the freaking free pass. Like
that was like my favorite part of the episode. I was like,
Yeah.
yes, fuck yeah, Billy.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. I had no intentions of going, and when I did go, I was up in the nosebleed section. I wasn't trying to be on camera or cause a disturbance or anything like that. And then the show started going to shit, and I completely forgot because I think it was Kris who told me this. Yeah, because I didn't mention this to Vice because I completely forgot it. But yeah, some fan like jumps Rob in the ring, and I'm sure Rob thought I had something to do with it. Knowing Rob's warped mind, I had something to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute, a fan jumped Rob in the ring?
Yeah.
Yes, I remember the boys gave him one.
Oh,
they gave
dude.
him a tune-up.
Dude,
Gave him one.
Right on the nose.
I thought that guy was going to die. They brought him back. They sat him down. I think they cuffed him and waiting for the cops to come. And every guy that was going to the ring, coming back through the curtain, took a shot. We were all pissed off at this guy, but after a while, I'm like, oh, dude, he picked the wrong freaking event to do something like this at.
Yeah.
And that was, man, I will never forget that, man. But again, that was the respect that somebody did not show. And he did. He picked the wrong event to do something like that at. But boy, that was brutal, man. That was.
Yeah, and
all right, guys, we're writing the screenplay. That's going in the screenplay.
Yeah.
Hey, it wasn't WCW, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I didn't do myself any favors when I got the call from D to let me know that I was causing a disturbance. That pissed me off. It pissed. I saw red because, you know, he's yelling at the guys because I'm there, and they have nothing to do with it. That was the one thing with Rob. Rob never went to me directly with anything. It was always someone else saying something to me.
Hey, let me ask you, Billy, man. Maybe I got to get it off my chest, but I know we've talked about it, man. But how did you feel like after the shit went down, those guys jumped you, like, and then like, right? Meet Dynamite D, Supreme, me, like we're still at XPW, like.
Yeah.
Like, did you feel like we didn't have your back, or I don't know? This is just something that's on my chest, and I've always wanted to ask you. You know?
No. And I would never. Again, what happened to me was my own doing. I'm not one of these. If I don't like somebody, you can't like them either, kind of thing. Or I've never been that way. I had no resentment towards you guys. I didn't, because I know Joey reached out to me, and if I remember right, maybe it was an email or I can't. But basically, Joey goes, "What do you want me to do? You want me to leave?" I said, "No, dude. I would never ask anybody to do anything like that. You know, like the whole indie wrestling thing of, you know, if you work there, you can't work here. Like, dude, whatever. Like, I don't. I'm not that way." I never had any resentment towards you guys. And maybe it's just my nature to begin with. And one of my faults is that I don't talk to anybody. I don't reach out. I don't keep in touch with people. You know, it's nothing against anybody, but I'm a hermit in that sense. And I've always been that way. But like when everything happened, I think my parents were just happened to be in town at the time. Not in town, but they were like in Lake Havasu. So they were like a couple of hours away. And then they came, and when I woke up in the hospital, I woke up to my dad just staring at me from a door. And when that happened, it was, you know, my dad always came, you know, my dad essentially, you know, you're 18, you're a man, you make your own decisions, whatever. He never would beat me over the head with things as far as like, you need to do this and you do that. But he was like, you need to stop wrestling. Stop it. No more, whatever. And at the time I went, okay. And I ended up, because I couldn't go back to the apartment, I ended up going to my uncle's house, who I didn't even really have a relationship with. It was just an uncle that lived in the area that, you know, was my stepmother's. But he's like, hey, you know, you're more than welcome to stay here. He was going out of town. So I was basically at that house for, like a week by myself, where I just thought about stuff and everything. And, I never once got mad at anybody. If anything, I was mad at myself. But it's like, dude, I'm going. And I remember my dad even saying, like, okay, you need to leave California. And I'm like, no, I'm not leaving. I'm not. I never felt any, like I said, any resentment toward you guys. The one thing that I will say was that, and this is no knock on I mean, and I'm not saying this to make Joey feel bad or anything like that, but the guys in CZW, like Ian Knox and Trent Acid and Johnny, like Adam Flash, those guys, they're like, dude, you want us to get on a plane and come out there right now? We'll fucking, hunt him down. And I'm like, no, it's just that East Coast mentality.
Yeah.
I was like, no, guys, it's fine. No. You guys don't need to do anything. I don't need anybody fighting my own battles. I sure as hell don't need anybody taking a stand for me. I always appreciated you guys, because I knew you guys were still in the background if I needed you guys. But, like I said, I think it's just my hermit mentality of me just wanting to do things on my own and deal with things on my own. And that's probably not the best thing, but I never had any resentment toward you guys. I never felt ill or was angry with any of you. I will say that if I talk to somebody and they want to tell me, if they want to act like Rob had nothing to do with what happened to me, or they don't want to say he had nothing to do with it, or we don't know what's going on, or we don't know who, dude, don't do it. You're just insulting my intelligence.
Yeah.
Don't.
Hey, it's crazy he's never been prosecuted for that. It's fucking crazy.
Well, I told Vice as well. Again, I never pressed the issue with sheriff, the sheriff, or with the detective. But he and I would talk from time to time and get in touch. And essentially, what he told me was, he goes, we all know Rob had something to do with this. He goes, but what I can do, he goes, I can bring Rob down here, or I can go talk to him. And what's he going to tell me? I had nothing to do with this. And I said, yeah. He basically then said, someone higher up than him, higher than his own boss, said you need to lay off Rob because there's other things going on with Rob, which I assume had to do with the the whole John Ashcroft thing.
Right.
You know?
Let him dig himself deeper.
Yeah. So he was basically told, hey, you need to back off this right now because we got other things going on. And I never pressed the issue because I was living on with my life. It's like, whatever. Again, what happened to me didn't stop me from doing anything I didn't want. I mean, maybe opening a ketchup packet on a plane was a pain in the ass, but other than that, I was fine. I could do everything else. Like they showed that stupid promo I did in CZW. I went out. I didn't mean to say all that stuff. Zandig said, go out there, because I wasn't even supposed to be at that show. He just said, yeah, the fans don't know you're here. Just go out there, say something on the mic, let them go home happy. Let them know you're okay. It's like, okay. Well, after about 5 beers before I go out there, I go out there and say all that stuff. And, I cringe when I watch it now because I'm talking about I can still play video games and open a beer. Like I should say shit like, I can still lift weights and train in the wrestling ring and but no, I mean, I'm saying stuff, And I think I even said, I can write an FU telegram to whoever. Who writes a telegram? Like just the dumbest
old
shit
West.
I was saying.
Hey, Billy, I just want to say, man, I appreciate you, man. And when they interviewed me, and I don't know if anyone ever asked me, like they said, what did you think when the whole shit went down when he got attacked? And I guess just thinking about it as a 42-year-old man, like I don't know what I was thinking, like staying there, to be honest with you. And I know what we talked about at the time, trying to make it, and very rare opportunities. But I just appreciate you, man, because you could have been like, fuck Supreme and fuck Chaos, and And I just appreciate you just being who you are, man. And I just want to let you know, like, dude, like me and Supreme, like, dude, 100%. And we always had your back. And I know it's just a weird circumstance and shit, but you know, like I just say, at 22, I don't know what I was thinking. At 42, I know that I probably wouldn't have went back, to be honest with you.
Dude, you guys didn't do anything wrong. I mean, you got nothing to apologize, man. No, I mean, you guys did nothing wrong. Again, it was my own doing. It was me running my mouth, and you know, what happened. And again, it was. I'd like to think that I'm enlightened. Where, hey, you know, if I F up, I can take responsibility for it. I'm not one of these, but so and so did this, or so and so did that. You know, the first time I ever said anything about like Rob getting BJ's every other day was on that Vice thing. I never said in any other interviews because it was like, but like, dude, you want to get mad at me for what I did, but look at you, motherfucker. Like, dude, don't like try to take the moral ground with me. Like, dude, you can't. But dude, you got nothing to apologize for. It was I did it myself. It was me. It was me being a stupid 23 horned up kid or whatever you want to call it. You know, I'm not I joke. I make the joke, but it was like, you know, I'm not an alcoholic. I don't have a gambling problem. I don't have a drug problem, but boobs, man, like, fuck. Like, dude, like, God damn it. Like, you know, God, like, if it weren't for boobs, I'd be fine. You know? So, I mean,
I want to jump in here listening to this and hearing Billy's voice and just see him here. I mean, I wish we were all in the same room. I mean, that I'm getting all emotional. I'm fighting it back here because God, I miss you guys so much. And I'm remembering, dude, before anything happened, we had a clip. Remember, we used to do Taco Tuesdays before Taco Tuesdays was a thing. We do the training, D, Lester, all of us, we'd go eat or whatever. And then I remember when Billy left.
All right, sorry. Can somebody turn their audio down?
I remember.
Is that someone's phone on?
No, it's not me.
Not over here.
Someone needs to. There's like another window that needs to be closed.
Do we have another window?
Oh, there you go. Somebody. It was closed. It was closed. It was the host.
Come on, man.
Do it.
Well, I was saying, you know, we were tight. We were tight. The SoCal guys, we were tight. We'd go train and then we'd go out to drink, eat, whatever. Like I said, we were doing Taco Tuesday before Taco Tuesday was a thing. And then, you know, and then Billy left. And I remember, and if I'm wrong, somebody correct me, but I remember being told, hey, you know, so-and-so said, don't hang out with him. You guys aren't supposed to hang out with him. You know, he's excommunicado around here. Don't hang out with him. And what did we do? It's kind of like we took that as like, well, he's our friend. We're still going to go hang out with him. And it was Supreme and D that were like, no, we're still going to go hang out with him. Hey guys, we're going to go hang out with Billy. Who's coming? We're like, we're going. And remember that one time we went over to that miniature golf place and went over to that restaurant that's not there anymore, that California Broiler. When Joey got the TV belt, we all hung out together.
Yeah, Joey almost got. Yeah, I remember that. Joey was almost got into a fight in the parking lot with some stranger. Yeah.
But my point being that I mean, even you being gone, I think we were still close. If anything, in a way, it brought us even closer together. Don't tell us who we can't hang out with. You know,
we stuck me to a bar once.
I knew you before I knew them. Yeah. You're the reason I got into. You're the first real match I saw was you and Carlos, and you guys were just like, that's it. I'm a wrestler. I'm gonna be a wrestler now. I'm training now. So.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think there was one time, and Joey remembers this, but Joey Supreme and Lester, or Joey Supreme and D, they invited me. This is after I had gotten fired. They invited me to come down and train. So my dumb ass, I'm like, yeah, let's go train. So I go down to the XPW office and train, and bumping around the ring and blah blah blah, and you know, Rob finds out I was training, and like. I just heard that he was like whining down the halls, like, who can I trust? I can't trust anybody. I was like,
Hey,
oh.
let me cut in. Billy, you have the balls of an elephant, bro.
Exactly. Yes.
Fuck, bro.
The size of Hawk's muscles.
Yeah. He said, fuck it. I don't care. I'm still gonna come over here and trade. I'm gonna come to your show. I'm gonna talk some shit about shit. I'm gonna roll in.
Honestly, dude, it was.
Dude, he worked Rob up into this like hysteria.
Yeah, honestly, like it's just stupidity what it is. And honestly, at the time, I mean, that's, you know, Rob had already threatened me and all that stuff, and I wasn't going to be intimidated by him. I was just like, dude, he used to send me out there when guys would want their checks. He used to send me out there to get rid of guys. You know, it was like, it was just dumb on my part, but also I wanted to see my friends and bump around in the restaurant. Yeah. So, but you know, I should have never gone and put like Supreme D and Lester, you know, and Joey in those positions where, you know, they'd have to hear, you know, Rob crying about it or whatever it is. Cause, you know, it just, again, it's not balls. It's just being stupid is what it is. I mean,
Billy,
hey, it's a ball soup.
Billy, before I ask you, Leroy, RCG, you wanted to say something earlier. I saw you were raising your broom.
Yeah, they snuck me into a bar once when I was like 18, and it was pretty awesome just hanging out with everyone.
Yeah.
Ready for the hammer to come down.
Joey, you and I were both under 21 when we were like doing all those shows like back in '99.
Hell yeah. And
that was a lot of fun.
I remember Phil, 18 years old.
I see it, Larry. I
jacked like a motherfucker. And I remember seeing his gear, and I'd look at my gear and be like, hey, bro, where did you get your gear? And he told me, like, Ontario, somewhere off the 60 on Archibald. And I ran straight over
Fresh Peaches.
Beer made.
No question for me. Just a heartfelt thank you for all the great memories. My dad and I went to a ton of XPW shows. Chaos and Messiah were my favorites. And I'm pretty sure my dad still has a Rivera t-shirt.
T-shirt. Read it right, man. T-shirt.
Not even Gordon Soley. Not even the great Gordon Soley has a t-shirt.
How do we cut the mute button for that metal?
Which Larry Rivera are we talking about?
Oh,
gee.
So Billy, what did you think overall about? I know you said a lot that they may have left out, but how did you like the episode that we all just witnessed on Vice?
You know, I'm kind of indifferent to it. Like I said, I come off like a man whore. But yeah, thanks Jessica for that one, by the way.
I didn't know about that one.
Yeah. Supreme and Lester indeed did. But
I slept with Billy too.
Yeah. I got
breaking news. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
We just cuddled.
Right here on the wrestling.
Well, because I told them jokingly. I said when I started working there, again, I never worked in the adult industry. I was, you know, working in the office. So, you know, it's basically like Wizard of Oz. It's like, you know, going from black and white to color. Like, what you guys do? What you do? You know, and I can distinctly remember having discussions with Jessica and her husband Bobby about like, so wait, you guys are married and you film her doing scenes and like, how does that work? And like all this stuff. And, you know, the contract girls are, you know, Lizzie and Jessica and Christy, they, you know, they kind of saw me like a little puppy, wide-eyed puppy, and would just mess with me. You know, I said they sexually harassed me, and I said it was awesome, which was stupid. I shouldn't have said that. But because, you know, if it's a bunch of fat chicks, I don't want that. Who wants that?
And then Billy sends me the gif of all the chicks touching him, and he's like, I think that's me, man. What the fuck are they what the fuck are the kind of story are they telling?
Yeah, because they're sending like stuff to me, and I'm like, is that supposed to be me? I was like, that never happened. It looks like I'm trying to flex my muscles and they're touching up. I'm like, that never happened. Like, what the? Yeah, I mean, it was. I thought it was good. I mean, I love the fact that they you know, they included Lester, and they had the stuff about Lester, and
Yeah.
Because the way it was pitched to me was that the show that Howard was the one that Joey and I were talking to, but they wanted to tell the story of a bunch of young guys just trying to get into the wrestling business and being excited about being in the wrestling business. You know, they had told me that that they had spoken to Rob, and Rob had declined, you know, to be part of it, because Rob knew that they would ask questions about what had happened to me. And, you know, Rob's basically answer was, if I say I didn't do it, no one's going to believe I had nothing to do with it. So why even bother, kind of thing. Because I was on the fence about doing it because of being labeled a man whore, you know, stuff like that. But it's, you know, I thought they did well. I mean, there were stories, like, I didn't know about the like what happened to Luke with the chair shot thing.
Yeah. I didn't
actually
know
no,
that
you know,
either.
I'm sorry, I did hear about that, but didn't Supreme like wise you up to it? Like he told you, Rob?
He told me after. He was like, he apologized after.
Okay.
Yeah, he was really, like I said, it's crazy because I was close with Supreme. You know, Lester was always a buddy, and I looked up to him. So it's just like I didn't fully understand it at the time, because like I wouldn't. I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying I wouldn't, like, you couldn't pay me enough money to do that to somebody I love or have a friendship with, you know.
Yeah.
But I also understand it was a different world back then. They had the locker room enforcers, so they had to do wrestling was different then.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't personal. It was a job. So you know, and I appreciate Lester, you know, even telling me that stuff. But like he's the shit, listening to it and even watching it, like my old lady was cringing watching it, and she really was. Yeah, and it just pisses me the fuck off, because it's like, this motherfucker's still walking out there on the streets, like with you know, no remorse. Like he's fucking starting up a wrestling company again. This motherfucker don't know his head from his asshole.
Yeah.
So, like, well, you know, that's the shit that pisses me off. Like, he got off with doing that to you. He got off with doing the shit to me, and he's just walking around fucking scot-free with his dick in his hand, like he's, you know, thinking he's king promoter.
Yeah, no, and the dude, what's funny is when I had watched when they had shown like clips of you know, the upcoming season, and I was watching it, and then they showed just a brief clip of like Clippers. My heart started racing. I wasn't expecting that. I was like, what the fuck? Like, because I just assumed that had to do with our, you know, the XPW episode. And then when they showed, you know, they sent me the whatever clip of, you know, the attack thing and whatnot. If that's the only thing that caught me off guard. I just wasn't expecting that. Again, I don't remember that much blood being around. They made it like a Hollywood movie set, like it's squirting and all that stuff. But I just wasn't expecting that. You know, that was a little bit unsettling, just to be like, you know, just to see that. But I understand, you know, it's TV. They got to do it all up and everything.
Well, it's also traumatic, though. And it's traumatic for you to go through that shit. You know what I mean? So, like, it's one of those things where, you've look, I talk about my bad shit that happened to me in the past all the time. And I can talk about, but sometimes every now and then something will happen and will strike something up and it'll hit. Because you guys know me, but you don't know me probably as well as like my close friends do, and all the bad shit I went through growing up and why I am the way I am, like with my attitude and aggressiveness and shit. I mean, I come from nothing. I grew up literally on the fucking streets, fighting every day in a boys' home. My mom was a drug. I can go a fucking mile long of a story, right? It was bad. I had a really fucking rough life growing up. And it doesn't bother me. Like, it doesn't bother me to talk about it. I had a lot. My mom got raped on side of me when I was 8 years old. You know, I had to beat the guy off with a pipe. And that shit doesn't fuck with my head. But sometimes there's things that trigger something, and you just kind of have that.
Yeah, I got you. No, that's
yeah. So like, you know,
seeing that, just seeing that was like, I don't know, I just wasn't prepared for that. But overall, the episode, I thought it was good. I mean, I loved the end, you know, including, you know, Joey, you know, Chaos and Jezebel, you know, showing that they got married and they did the big kiss, and the, you know, all they needed to add was like unicorns and hearts, and that would have been awesome.
there was a moment in the end that I was very interesting, which was they asked all you guys, would you do it again? And I, man, you know, I wouldn't.
Well, here's the thing, dude, not to cut you, but they didn't ask me that. That's what's weird. They never asked me that. I just said, you know, what I told you when I did the interview with you. Yeah. You know, if, you know, again, I'm not one of these, you know, you're always thinking about the bad stuff and you just dwell on it. And that, I mean, that's not good for anybody to be that way. But, you know, honestly, it's like if one thing had to change for me not to, you know, have my wife and my kids, I wouldn't want to change anything. If I would have to get attacked every day in order to have them, I'd get attacked every day. That's not trying to be like a cool macho guy or anything like that, or it's just the truth.
You love your family, though. You love your family.
I mean, that's, again, you know, there are people that show off their cars and houses and jewelry and stuff like that. I'm not one of those guys. I'm wearing a, you know, like a 10-year-old Detroit hat. Like, I don't care. I like showing off my wife and my kids, you know, because I never thought I would ever have that, you know, or have this, and you know, that's what I like, or that's what I like to show people. You know, I mean, it's you know, it's again, they never asked me. I always, you know, I said that, and then to see everybody have their answer to it, I thought was really cool, and I thought, you know, it's pretty interesting. Everybody's like, yeah, I wouldn't change anything. Yeah. You know, it's like, it is what it is. What are you going to do about, you know, dwelling in the past or trying to relive the past, you know, which people do a lot, you know, and, you know, what's done is done. Just move on, you know.
Who was at the office the day that they got raided? Do you guys, Mike, you were there? Obviously you were there.
I was already gone.
You're already gone for the day. Okay, so the question I have for you guys, and what did you think of them touching on this whole thing? I remember coming to the office after it happened, and I remember seeing the paper, Rob Zakari's signature, and the actual signature of John Ashcroft. And it was, wow. I mean, you know, talk about that, because, I mean, when Marquez said on there, no one ever challenges the federal government. Like, what do you talk about? The Vietnam era, that, like, it's been a history of people challenging the federal government, right?
No,
but
he's not smart.
But yeah, but this was a big deal. People do get raided all the time, but not to this level. Couple questions.
Just turn it off.
Anybody remember that? Not only that, but do you guys think that, of course, that ended XPW?
Chris. Can I cut you off for 1 second? My phone's about to die, and I don't have a backup. So I want to say goodbye before I get cut out. You know, and I want to tell every one of you guys, it was really good to see you guys. I do love y'all. I appreciate my times and my experiences with y'all.
Miss refereeing your matches, man.
Definitely, man. Well, you can referee me in Chaos when it happens. I've seen
I'm trying.
There it is.
There
There it is. You heard it here again first.
Right on the Wrestling Chatter.
Right.
And you and Messiah.
Billy, it's good to see you, man. I'm glad you're doing well.
Too, man.
So everybody,
you're my most famous friend. I'm always telling guys, that's the guy who got the Wolverine claws in the head. Yeah, that guy. I know that guy.
Exactly.
Who better?
Hopefully,
thank
who
you
better?
so much, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Love y'all, man.
Adios.
Have a
Thank
good
you,
day,
everybody.
Take care.
See you, brother.
Thank you to everybody. Thank you to everybody at home tuning in too. Thank you to everybody watching this. So, thank you.
All right, take it easy, Luke. Proud of you, man.
Peace.
That was Luke Hawks, everybody, one of the all-time greats, and we're back here. But okay, so do you guys think that what would have been the future of XPW had that John Ashcroft raid not happened? Would it have gone on, and what would have looked like now? I mean, the wrestling business was changing so much as well at that time. Would our products still have been accepted? I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, but that's what they touched on Dark Side.
I mean, if he hadn't gotten raided, he would have had this like unlimited well of resources and money coming in, because that's really, you know, is what I heard. I don't know if this is true or not. I heard XPW was a huge money loser. And
as far as I know, yes.
Yeah, and there was just so much money coming in from the Xtreme Associates side.
Well, here's the thing, too.
It just kept it afloat.
Here's the thing, too, which they didn't touch on, and Mike can probably testify to this. Before the whole getting rated thing, Rob was having problems with paying his bills when I was there. To the point where the FedEx guy would show up, and he'd take the packages and go, "Hey, you guys' bill's due." Okay, all right, come back. They would stop coming because the bill wasn't paid. So then everything would go to the UPS guys. All right, UPS guys. All right, they would say the same thing. Bill's due. Okay, weren't paying the UPS. So then all of a sudden everybody's going to the actual
DHL.
DHL. Or I remember one time having to go to the actual post office with all these packages.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't paying stuff then, and then keep in mind that's where he gets in trouble with, mailing stuff through the United States Postal Service.
Right.
Had he just paid his stupid UPS bill and FedEx bill, maybe he wouldn't have gone to jail.
That's an interesting angle.
Totally true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was already having issues.
And see, if he had sent telegrams, it would have been no problem.
Yep. Handwritten telegrams.
Well, like the thing with Rob and the porn side is we owed everybody money. We were going to different replicators, different authors, different printers, because every week we had to owe somebody else money. And it was like, Mike, I'm sure you could remember this, how many times I'd come in bitching. I remember one time with FB Productions, I had to give them, because we owed them money and they were saying, you need to pay this minimum balance. Rob made me give them, it was like $5,000 in pennies and nickels. So
I delivered that money.
Remember that? So it was like everyone thought that the Extreme Associate side was making buku bucks and all this money. No, Rob owed everybody. He owed the talent. He owed every DVD replicator, VHS replicator. I mean, he owed everybody. So it was like, it was a smoke and mirrors. Like
and then
I'm
keep in mind,
you could attest to it. It was in the master's room. Everything was smoke and mirrors.
Keep in mind too, Rob started picking fights with Paul Fishbein, the guy who ran AVN and everything. The one story that they didn't include in Dark Side of the Ring is when Rob staged a thing at AVN where he caused a scene at the AVN offices where he busted a potted plant, and two of my friends dressed up as LAPD, and they got a LAPD cop car, and they pulled up to AVN and acted like they arrested Rob. Oh. And then like maybe 5 minutes later, the real police show up. It was all a publicity stunt, but Rob didn't do himself any favors with alienating people in the industry that he was friends with, that he was doing business with. And then when he would owe them money, he would just start, bad mouthing them to other people and calling them a scumbag. And, Jake Lawless knows these stories when he started working at whatever, I can't remember, after he left XPW.
I worked with Jake at that replicator.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jake heard all kinds of stories.
Yeah. Quick story. I think at Extreme, it was a mixture of unpaid bills, but I don't know if it was so much for I don't want to pay them or we can't pay them, because there would be a whole week's checks that went to talent that would go bad, as Sylvia knows.
Oh yeah.
The phone ringing, the 13 to 20 people in the front office, all holding checks with insufficient funds stamped on it. I remember like the chaos that caused, no pun intended, of like, now we're not doing our jobs. Now we're fielding the phones. We're dealing with all this extra stuff. And Rob would be back there giggling. Like, because he thought it was funny fucking with these people. Could he not afford to
for hours in the lobby?
Yeah, and I remember people were just like on their phones, out of the office, in the office, taking up parking spots. So when we were trying to do our business, we couldn't. And I specifically remember Sylvia and I were, if you can remember this, we were both at like the front desk, like intercomming whoever in the other room, like, hey, what the fuck? What do we tell people? Because we're the faces that they see. We're the people that had to deal with it.
We're the ones they yelled at.
Yeah, and I remember a girl yelling, "Whose dick do I have to suck to get my check to clear?" And I remember looking up from trying to hide behind this desk because like we're the face of these insufficient funds because we're the people they see. And so I don't know if it was so much he couldn't afford it or just didn't want to or got a kick out of not paying people. Because
I think he got off on it. He got off on sob stories.
I think it was control. It was control, maybe.
Yeah, but the thing with Rob also was that he never faced these people one-on-one. He sent you guys.
Right.
Yeah.
It was all big jokes. He never did anything one-on-one.
Yeah, there was us or Kevin.
Kevin took so many bullets.
Oh,
do you guys remember the Buddy Rose thing?
No.
What was that?
No.
Buddy Rose, because he was on Playboy Buddy Rose, because he was doing the thing with Steve Rosano, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, Buddy, he's old school. So hey, when are the shows? So it's like here are the shows. These are when we're doing shows. So it doesn't mean you're on the shows, but in Buddy, he's like, I am booked for these shows. So in Buddy's mind, he has a solid booking for whatever shows these are. Buddy, for whatever reason, he's not on. Rob didn't want to use him anymore, or whatever it was, or he wasn't using him for as many shows as he told Buddy he would. Mm-hmm. So Buddy, hey, you still got to pay me. And so Buddy just started calling the office and like nonstop and just like if I remember right, Kevin Kleinrock knows this better than me. Like threatening to bring like his friends down to the office to get his payment and whatever. Because Joey, do you remember he had like that one guy that showed up for training all of a sudden with the tattoos on his legs?
Yeah.
Do you remember that guy? That was Buddy Rose's guy. Like, we're just like, who the hell is this guy? He just shows up out of the blue. We're like, what the? Okay. He was a nice enough guy. But so I believe, and again, I don't know if this is correct or not. I don't know if Rob told Kevin to do it or Kevin was just trying to be proactive and deal with it. But, oh no, I assume Kevin was trying to be proactive with it. Kevin sent Buddy like a package of stuff. What the stuff was, I don't know. If there was some cash mixed in with like pills or something, I don't know. But Buddy then like calls up Rob, and if I remember right, he's kind of gloating about, you think you're going to buy me off with this? No, and I remember Rob went off on Kevin about betraying him. Like, and Kevin was just trying to be proactive, trying to shield Rob from this. And Rob just turned into this huge, like, who's the next one who's going to betray me and blah, 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 all this. And it was the most ridiculous thing in the world. But the one thing I do remember is, or maybe I'm mixing two stories, but I do remember Kevin asking Rob, hey, Buddy's going to call. I need you to be the angry Rob Black. So Rob's like rolling his eyes. He's like, yeah, okay. So Buddy gets on the phone, and then Rob just starts yelling at him, and you're going to threaten me and da da da, and you want to bring guys down here, that's fine, whatever, bring him down here. Hangs up the phone, and then like 3 seconds later, Buddy Rhodes calls, and like, if I remember right, it was like, see you on Saturday, like, okay. like implying we're gonna have a rumble or something, and nothing ever happened. But I just distinctly remember like Kevin trying to like, hey, let me take care of this, get it out of here, and Rob just throwing a bitch fit about it, about betraying his trust and whatnot. It was the most ridiculous thing in the world.
It sounds right.
Rob wouldn't pay Buddy Rose.
If I could say something, I wasn't involved in the ring stuff, but man, having somebody like Buddy Rose around with the brain, the mind that he has, the experience that he has, that guy's one of the greatest. If you watch this stuff from the early 80s in Portland, he is one of the greatest workers, wrestlers ever. And to have that kind of brain around that can share his wisdom with other guys, and you treat somebody like that in that way, it's just I can't fathom it.
The thing with Rob wanted to use Playboy Buddy Rose because it was Playboy Buddy Rose, not because it was the funny gigolo guy like that. Rob didn't understand he didn't understand like the psychology or what this guy could teach us. I mean, when one of the first things I ever had to do when I first started working at the XPW office was Kevin had me call Tracy Smothers to let Tracy know we're not using him. We're going to stop using him. I'm like, why are we going to stop using him? Tracy's awesome. Because at the time he was training us in the ring before shows. It was awesome. Like I learned so much from Tracy in those times that he would do stuff with us. And I just remember going, why aren't we using Tracy? And I don't even know if Kevin had an answer or not, but Rob just didn't want to use him. And it was the most awkward conversation I've ever had, because it was like I didn't have an answer for Tracy on why he's not being used. All I could tell him was, we're not using you this show, but we are going to bring you back. And while I was there, they never brought him back until I had already left. But it was just, I think Rob, like the little kid in him would, the guy he saw on TV when he was a kid, bring him in for a couple shows, and then whatever that, kid, mentality about having them there would wear off.
Right.
And then it was like, okay, I don't want him anymore.
Another guy.
His big wrestling flaw was he did not understand how to, build stories or build shows or build angles or work programs. He didn't get that stuff at all.
Another guy that you talk about, Rivera having a good guy around, that really doesn't get mentioned a lot, and he had that same mind, was Gary Keys. Cool.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that guy has been around forever, and he, what a nice guy, by the way. And I just felt like, man, when he would talk, it was like a Tracy Smothers or a Playboy Buddy Rose. You just felt that experience, that direct experience that he's had for years in the business, and that wealth of knowledge, and happy to share it with everybody. I remember Vampiro saying that he was scared to be in an XPW locker room, that there were psycho killers, porn stars, coked out maniacs walking around, LOL. But that was, I guess, the words of Vampiro.
But he's a vampire.
He's a vampire. He shouldn't be scared. But yeah. Thank you, Leroy. Thank you. The voice of reason around here, Leroy Patterson, RCG. But any memories of him coming through? We're talking about these guys that had that experience, that knowledge, and anybody that you thought they may be left out of this documentary, this episode, that was maybe not talked about, or anybody that, anybody else?
The one thing that they told me when we were talking on the phone was that I was expecting they were going to have, like, they told me they interviewed like Tommy Dreamer and Justin Credible and everything because of the heat wave thing. So I just assumed that they would be part of that, the episode dealing with that. But they weren't in there. And I thought for sure they would put in, the part of and reenact the whole thing with Paul Heyman hitting me in the head. But they didn't do that either. Because I thought that was pretty funny when it happened. But it was I'm trying to think of that was the only thing I was surprised that because I just assumed that they would use those guys for their perspective on what was going on.
Joey, did they leave out the part that you shared with me?
Oh, hell yeah!
Maybe you can tell Billy straight up, Obi-Wan Kenobi down here.
That's what I said. I said when they closed that door, everything went quiet. Right before they closed that door was Paul Heyman yelling, cussing, spitting at me and Billy, and then they closed it and everything went quiet, and we kind of just like were locked out of the Olympic, and we're right there on 18th Street. And we start walking across the street to where I guess the parking is, to where the car is, and then we turn around and we see the door open, and I totally told them this story, but they left it out. And Balls Mahoney, and I want to say it was Roadkill, and I know Big Sal E, and I want to say Kid Cash, Jenny Dorian. It was a whole group of them.
Mikey Whipwreck.
Like probably about six to eight of those guys coming out, and I remember us turning around, and I remember looking like, this is it. We're gonna get our ass kicked. This is it. It's just me and you, Billy.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And they come walking up. And I'm just like, oh shit, it's going down right now. And Billy, you're all hot, man. You're all pissed off about the whole situation. And you were like, this shit wasn't supposed to go down like this, man. Hey, all we want to do is take our t-shirts and show our logo. You started pointing the finger at all of them. You guys are the one that fucked all this up, man. We had nothing to do with this, man. This was your fault. Like we weren't trying to fuck nothing up. And I swear to God, like I remember Balls looking at like the guy next to him, might have been Sally or somebody at Roadkill, and he kind of was like, "Hey man, this guy." He didn't say it, but he was like, "Hey man, this guy fucking is making sense right now." Like what the fuck? And they walked away, man. I remember specifically like this. You were like Obi-Wan Kenobi, like, "Hey man, we're not the guys we're looking for. Hey man, this is all your fault." Hey, and they just fucking walked away, man. I remember that, like, and I remember watching it with you and Chris Plus, and you were like, "No, I don't remember anything like that going on."
Yeah, I do, dude. I do remember saying, I do remember them coming out. I do remember saying, all we want to do was show our t-shirts, man. That's all we wanted to do. That's it. Like that's all I remember. And then I remember them just like, I specifically Kid Cash just like, and then just like leaving like okay, like
yeah, exactly.
Well, they were all marching for their leader too.
Yeah,
you know, and Rivera. A lot of people don't remember this, but you, Larry, you were at that event as a fan. No, not you, Wantasico. Larry, Pat,
I was
real Larry Rivera.
Yeah, I was at the show, but not obviously not in the first row, but I was across from the first. I could see down, but I was up about 10 rows. I was with the late Eric Caden of Hollywood Book and Poster, who Chaos and Supreme should know from the Great Incredibly Strange wrestling shows. But
we knew him before when we used to just go to the fucking Hollywood Book and Poster on Hollywood Boulevard and just
that's right,
t-shirts and all kinds of stuff.
Great Eric, but I was there with him, and we were watching all this go down, and you know, I talked about this in the interview I did with you, Chris, that one jackass from UPW, what's his name? The dreadlock man?
Doc Marley.
Yeah. I knew something. I because we sat down, me and Eric were talking, having a beer, and I see this guy, and he's all animated, talking to one of the Atlas security dudes, and he's pointing to where you guys were sitting. Yeah. And so right there, I said, this is the show hadn't even started. And I'm telling Eric, man, I gotta, there's something in the air. I got a funny feeling something's going to happen. And sure enough, all that shit goes down. Chaos. Doing the, that's the image that's locked in my head.
How did you avoid anything? Did you just?
I just sat there. I sat there watching it, and I'm looking around because I'm a wrestling fan, so I went for the show, and I'm thinking, and there was somebody else there from. God, what would the tag team? Not the
Ballards.
No, not those guys.
No.
African American guys.
The West Siders.
West Siders.
Yeah, it was Webster was there. Webster was there.
He was close. I could see him. He was near me, and he was doing the same thing. He was just sitting there, watching the show, but we could tell like that. Okay, something's going down. But
so you and I must have been sitting in the same area. I was sitting right next to Webster, and I was sitting next to Patrick, and I remember Patrick and Darren and Kevin all ran down like to go down to the whatever the street, whatever the hell was going on, and we were just sitting watching like, oh jeez.
I sat there. I didn't get up. I just stayed and sat there, but I said I knew it. I knew that rat bastard was planning something. So but
you took off though, Larry. You didn't stay for the whole show.
Not about 50, I guess what was the main event? Was that Just
Dreamer Credible?
Yeah. So right as right as that just started, I said, you know what? I think it's best. As I told Eric, I'm going to split. You know, see you later. And I just walked out the back. I've been there, that building so many times.
Right.
Boop, 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 you know, walked
That was the
out.
one thing that they cut out as well. Where I mean, I actually said if I had that, I've never. I mean, I had the opportunity one time to almost wrestle Tommy Dreamer for Mike, but you know that fell through. But I've never met Tommy Dreamer. I've never met Paul Heyman. If I could, you know, apologize to him and say, hey man, you know, sorry that we just, you know, we were dumb kids, but that wasn't our intentions to cause a disturbance. But, you know, I've gotten the opportunity to apologize to Just Incredible. I mean, I don't think he remembered it, but, you know, I mean, it was just, yeah, we were just dumb kids. But, you know, the fact that, you know, Rob wasn't there, because I was always under the impression Rob was going to be there along with Lizzie. Like the fact that they weren't there, it's like, because there were seats bought for him, because there was empty seats up in the nosebleed section. It was like, dude, why
he was on the phone with Kevin the whole time. Like Kevin was on the phone with him the entire time, the entire show.
Oh, really? Yeah, it just.
Yep.
Again, that should have just set off, you know, alarm bells in my head back then, but it didn't. But it was. Again, I just remember like going to the office like the next day, you know. So what, you know, because Jake was still working at the office, and like, so what's going on? What's the news and what's going on and everything. And I remember, I think the following week was it Go Funk Yourself was the following week, and then Supreme and I had that match. But like in our head, it was like the wrestling world's on our you know, the eyes are on us. Like we got to deliver. We all have to deliver.
Pretty much.
You know?
Yeah, you're right.
It's like, you know, no one was watching it. It was like, but in our heads, it was like everyone's watching us. We all have to deliver. We all got to do a good show, you know. So, I mean, whatever. It's a good story to tell people and laugh at.
This XPW reunion live stream is such a blast. Thank you very much, and thank you. What is it? Because we've been talking about this on this show, and it's crazy. You mentioned it too, Billy. I think when you were talking to Luke, but how is it to you guys when you see this and all these people that are still interested in this after all these years? Because it's amazing. We started doing this, and I knew there was going to be interest, but man, not to the point where, I mean, we get asked on the wrestling chatter, all people write in all the time, but what does that mean to you hearing that? Anybody?
Oh. I think it shows that we all made a difference. We all believed in this product, and we all had to grow up pretty fast. We were all young coming into this, and it made all of you guys better athletes. And you know, again, people talk about it. You know, it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same thing I said. It was I was apprehensive. Like, you know, Dark Side of the Ring kept tagging me in a lot of stuff, and I didn't know how the story was going to go down. But you know, I lost my train of thought. What was the question, Chris?
What is it? How is it hearing all this? That
you know, I said, I actually tweeted. I said, man, it's amazing. Like, who would have thought that like 20 plus years later that we'd be talking about this? And you know, that totally they are wild stories, like what happened to Billy and the ECW, XPW invasion and stuff like that. But like, I guess at the time we were just trying to do wrestling, man. We weren't trying to think about like what was going to happen in 20 years. Would we still be talking about this, and would people still be interested? And I got to be honest, I watched the first segment. I think it was like the first 15 minutes before they went to commercial, and I was like, this is the coolest fucking promotion that you could probably be a part of, man. Like, how did it ever fail? Like, that's how I felt watching it. I'm biased 100%, but man, that I thought they were putting it over. Like, man, how could this fail? And you know, I mean, I know a lot of us were just 100% behind it and just trying to. I don't know. I mean, wrestling is different nowadays than it was back then, and it was just trying to get a sniff, just trying to get a look at it as a wrestler, just trying to be part of something. that you could be recognized for. And I think we were all, part of that in XPW, and we just wanted it to thrive, and we were working our asses off for it.
It was awesome having a dope ass wrestling company here in LA. I miss it. Now that's something I hear a lot as far as people that still have indie wrestling out here, but in a different way. A lot of the people write in and say there's nothing to compare going to an XPW show. Basically, the similar theme that people touch on is the fact that there was that element of danger, there was this element of unregulation. I don't know what I'm going to see tonight. And there was a lot of pride. It's one thing to have an episode of Dark Side of the Ring, like you were saying, I think, Sylvia, how, anything to touch on the smut, the goriness, whatever, the tabloidish kind of story. But to have people like literally say they miss it so much, and it kind of brought back, I think, Rivera, you were talking about on our episode, how it felt like it was bringing back the territory type vibe to LA at that time. And there were a lot of people that miss it.
At least in the beginning, in the early days, there was definitely that vibe. I have to say that. With the weekly television, it would have been nice if we could have done a studio TV thing with the live audience. That would have really taken it back to those days. But absolutely, I think there was aspects of that where it was definitely touched on. Yeah.
How about anybody else as far as that's concerned?
Well, yeah, I think Larry has a point. But there's something about it being LA, because LA, it's LA, man. It's the spot. It's Hollywood. It's this is where every other state wants to be here, and nothing comes close. You know what I mean? This is LA. So for a wrestling organization to pop up in Los Angeles, it's automatically going to garner more attention than an indie fed popping up, in Minneapolis, because it's Los Angeles. This is Hollywood. The best thing you can do if you want to get something to get attention is, hey, it's from LA or it's Hollywood. Anywhere you go, you've been to other countries, you've been to other states, you tell somebody you're from Los Angeles, you're almost a celebrity just on that fact alone.
Right.
And I think that just garnered that in and of, even if there were no other territories really, it was XPW is an LA product, and all of a sudden we're on the map because it's from LA. It's Los Angeles, it's Hollywood. So you have, WWF at the time, WCW and ECW, and then it was the Los Angeles thing. I think gave us a large amount of buzz, because it happened to be in Los Angeles.
100%. Yeah, I agree completely, because I think there were some key elements that made it unique. And I remember my first interaction was watching it and seeing it on local TV and seeing guys that were interesting. They were in buildings I was aware of, and like at the country club, like I'd seen, concerts there when I was a kid in high school and stuff. And it was so familiar in so many ways. And it was just a bunch of guys giving it their all. And I think mixed with LA, and I remember watching it going, oh my God, this is amazing. And like finding out it's from LA and they're going to debut at the Olympic Auditorium. And I was just like, oh my God, everything about this is great.
Yeah, it's something else. And what do you guys, if anybody, they touched on probably the most famous stories of XPW. Is there anything that, again, it's only an hour episode, but do you guys have anything like as far as things that you thought could be touched on as far as the history?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'll go first because I've been wanting to kind of work this in there. The homeless Jimmy story.
Oh yeah.
Like the way he left, he was like early on, he left, and there was it was pardon the expression, but all kinds of shady. The way Jimmy made his exit and his story. You know, if you watch the wrestling chatter, Jimmy says, you know, that he was told that, you know, that Rob wanted him hurt, and then that Jimmy's story is then later on backed up by Lazy's wrestling chatter interview. Lazy touches on that too, saying that Cronus told him that Rob wanted Jimmy hurt. Like, so now you take it. We've seen this on, that's Jimmy's story. Lazy then co-signs that story. Now we watch the Dark Side of the Ring, and we see we know what happened with Messiah, with Billy, and then now we find out what happened with Luke. So, knowing what we know, learning what we learned tonight on this episode, I think it that's something that needs to be investigated. That's something that needs to be pursued by someone with either a camera or you know, either a journalist or a documentarian needs to really pursue that and see you know what that's about. And to be honest with you, I'm gonna say this for the first time. Look, I wasn't all there when XPW was going on. I have my own demons, you know, alcohol and drug abuse when I was going through all that. Not proud of it. You know, Fantastico could have been a lot. I think a bigger deal if I was sober and could focus on what was going on, and really let my passion for wrestling was 100% as opposed to you know having those demons. But I would love to be able to ask uh, Vinny Massaro if he was told to hurt me. I'd love to ask Pogo if he was told to hurt me. I'd love to ask Juventud Guerrera if he was told to hurt me, because in those matches that I had with them, that things just weren't they weren't right. Like things that happened in the match, like things were a little bit off in the ring.
Yeah.
And so you know, I hearing Jimmy tell his story, hearing Lazy confirm it in so many words, and hearing what happened to Luke, knowing what happened to Billy, it makes it, you know, it hits that nerve. It's whatever that trauma is, and it brings me back. And I'm like, hey, you know, that I would just, you know, honestly, I'd like to just have ask a few people a couple of questions.
So
Hey.
so it's yeah, please, Joey.
Hey, I must be a little fucked up in the head, because I remember when I wrestled Pogo, I remember going up to him and saying, "Don't you motherfucker, don't you take it fucking light on me, dude." And I felt, and I said, "Give it to me, because I'm one of the boys, man." And I felt, I still to this day, 100%, I feel like, nah, man, he had too much respect for Supreme, so he took it easy on me. Like, I really felt that, like, man, like, just give it to me like you gave it to everybody else, dude. I could take it. But to answer your question, Kris, like, I totally, like, I talked a lot about Dynamite D and Supreme, and I would have loved to see a little bit more about Dynamite D for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And definitely Supreme and stuff like that.
Angel.
I think that, you know, Dynamite D definitely and Supreme were major parts of XPW, and I think they could have dedicated, I mean, really, even within that hour, they could have dedicated in like 2 minutes, 3 minutes to each guy, and that would have been, you know, for a TV show, that would have been a good amount at least.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But, you know, I guess, you know, that's how the cookie crumbles. You know, I think they're just looking like, you know, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story, because I remember hearing both sides of the story of the Vic Grimes story. And I don't want to break anyone's heart or anything like that, but I remember Vic Grimes just telling me straight out that, yeah, he tased it. He had the taser, and he would zzz, and he would tease it, and then once he put it on his body, he didn't tase anymore. And I think we all know, we've all seen the videos, like when someone gets tased, their body seizes up.
Yeah.
And I think, hey man, I'm a guy that I guess I break too much kayfabe, but I think they totally left my whole section out on that because they were like, don't let that truth get in the way of a good story, man. This is a good story. But yeah, I think Dynamite being Supreme would have been a little bit more showcase. That would have been great.
And Leroy,
I agree. Hey guys, I'm having some audio issues, and my eyes, like I can't even keep my eyes open.
If you gotta go poop,
say
it's okay.
goodbye. I love you all.
Thank
this
you,
was
Phil.
fucking awesome. This was a great night, and we should do this again soon.
Hey, Phil, it's been phenomenal, man.
Adios, guys.
Love you, brother.
Perfect.
All right.
Bye, Phil. He's
Love
gone.
you, brother.
Later, buddy.
Leroy.
Glad that guy's gone.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about him.
Now
So
the
one
fun
time-
starts.
So you mentioned I guess Joey, hopefully he'll come back here, but Leroy, you mentioned Angel, and yeah, he's another guy
That's
that
another amazing name that doesn't get talked about enough.
Yeah.
The bumps that have been pulled off, like mind blowing. You still don't.
The fact he's still walking is mind blowing. The fact he's still walking is mind blowing.
Yeah.
But again, it's like it's the homegrown talent. It's we wanted this to work.
Yeah.
We were hungry. This was ours. This was a promotion that was ours, that we had Rob Black invest in, trusted us as a unit, and everyone just went balls out. Angel, Supreme, everyone. I mean, that's just the way this was. I can't wait to see the movie in 2 years.
Someone's writing it right now.
So Gabriel, you brought up Jimmy, and by the way, want to shout out to Danny Monchichi. He couldn't be with us; he had to work tonight. But a shout out to Danny.
I think I peed on my car once.
Oh, okay.
Moving on.
We'll get into that. That's an interesting story. But he actually shared with me recently about I guess it was back maybe in 2014, circa when Rob was kind of hinting at the time of bringing XPW back, and he went to I wasn't there, but he went to UEW show, and I guess I'll have to get more tidbits, but from what I understood, Rob was there, and there was some sort of meeting, a confrontation, not confrontation, but a hashing out with Jimmy. Whether we can get Jimmy or Rob's side of the story, that would be interesting. But somewhere on the lines, with take it for what it's worth, but from what Danny was telling me, they had a conversation. I guess Rob wanted to clear the air. Jimmy wanted to let know to Rob what was on his mind. And it was something on the lines where it was like, look, if I had a problem with you, it wouldn't have been settled in the ring. It would have been settled outside. And man, like if you were to listen to him, it sounded like he was being truthful. Now, were there shady things going on with stuff outside the ring? Maybe so. So I don't know. I would like to hear both sides of that story. Because,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, because in some ways I can understand that. It makes sense when I heard that. If he did have a problem with Jimmy, I just, on one hand, it's like and you guys know in wrestling, if two guys have a problem, it's settled in the locker room, it's settled in the office or in the parking lot. It's never, they never jeopardize, as pissed off as some people are. I feel like it never was settled inside during a show. It never happens that way. Now, were there stuff that happened not on a show? Again, I'd like to get both sides of their story. But again, Jimmy, like Angel, it's like these guys, they're unsung heroes in a way. Like they don't get mentioned as much as they should. Both those guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and what kind of problem could you have with Jimmy to where like revenge needs to be taken out? Like
kind of nicest dude ever.
To
the guy never said anything.
Yeah, exactly. But Klaus, to revisit your early question is, if things hadn't folded when they did, would the company have continued? And I think with that mentality of things like that, where retribution is dished out on guys because they covered a chair shot. Like that doesn't matter. It didn't make or break the match. It didn't like ruin a TV spot. Like there's nothing about that hurts the money for the company. Like there's nothing substantial where you're like, oh my gosh, that was a mistake. We can't let that happen again. But like if retribution, like we're finding out more and more, is part of the business plan, I think it would have ended over some other some other issue besides a federal indictment. It would have been something else,
Yeah.
If not just
want to shout out my dad here from Roslyn, Washington. Good old Mike Kloss says hello to the boys.
Yeah.
A lot of
Hey!
Get him in here.
Yeah, northern exposure up there, Roslyn, Washington. But anyway, but no, anything else that you guys thought? Again, man, it was 1 hour,
Yeah, the show
Not
is
enough time.
definitely, it's not a documentary by any means. I
Right.
mean, it's not even a time capsule because it's like just a blip. And I remember when I first got a call about the show, I was like, oh, you got to talk to, and I was just rambling off names, and they were like, okay, yeah. And then, we would continue with the conversation. Then I would email them, oh, hey, here's so-and-so's Facebook, here's so-and-so's number. And then I remember getting to the interview and going, oh, who's already been here today? Oh, who's coming up? And I was just like, there's guys that I think I'm not writing the show, but there's guys that I think should be here. And now seeing the show, like they really wanted those stories told. It's not like they wanted to hear about the sports arena and how big of a deal it was for a local promotion to be in the sports arena. They didn't want to know about, when we returned to the Olympic Auditorium and it was, XPW's debut in the Olympic. They just needed like those, the things that viewers probably want to see most is what they were trying to, and I think the
red meat.
Yes. Yeah. And I think the fact that if I had just worked on the show would be one thing, but I was day to day in the office. Right. So they were like, oh, tell us about this. And so like, I remember seeing the first highlight that they showed had a reenactment, and I messaged the producer that I'd spoken to, and I'm like, oh, hey, did any of my stuff end up in the show, or is it all on the cutting room floor? And he said, oh no, we had to hire a lookalike to do a reenactment with you. And I was like, holy shit. And when I saw the season preview or whatever that they did a little bit on each episode, they talked about the scene that I talked about walking by the cafeteria area and there being a woman dressed up as the Statue of Liberty and the three guys in the presidential masks. And when they showed that, they showed a guy that looks like me walking by the camera. And I'm like, that's the guy. Like, oh my God. But the funniest thing, I'm going to try to tell two very quick stories. So my daughter has known I've always been in or out of the wrestling business. And so she's got friends that totally watch Dark Side of the Ring. And I was hanging out with them and I said, oh yeah, I got interviewed for an episode. And they were like, are you kidding? What it was about? And they didn't even know about XPW. So I gave them the whole story. And then I'm like, well, holy shit. Now my daughter's going to watch this show. And now I get to go, oh, by the way, honey, it wasn't just a wrestling show. And so I told her like 3 weeks ago, and I kind of made a joke about the whole thing. And my wife was in on it. And we're just kind of like, and by the way, the guy didn't make all of his money off of wrestling. And she's just kind of staring at me. And I was like, yeah, it was kind of an adult company. And she just starts laughing. She's like, my dad worked for a porn company. And she was just laughing and laughing. She thought it was the funniest thing. And I was like, and she goes, I know people that do porn. You worked in an accounting office? Like, who cares? And so,
and you had a stunt double.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm here. You can hire me. But years ago, when my daughter was still in high school, she was coming to the Mex Pro shows and the different shows we were doing.
Isa.
And we would go to the local shows. We'd go to Joey shows or anything going on. So she really liked wrestling, and she was at her friend's once, and she goes, "Oh, my mom's friend says she was a wrestler." And I was like, in Southern California, like the guys or I are going to know who this person is.
Right.
Oh yeah, she doesn't remember her wrestling name, but she knows Kevin. And I was like, where's this story going to go? And she told me her mom's name, and I'm like, I don't know who that is, but okay. So I was talking to Kevin one day, and I go, Kevin, my daughter goes to school with this girl who says her mom used to wrestle, and this is her name. And he goes, oh, that's Christy Mist.
Oh.
And so my daughter went to school with Christy Mist's daughter, and I was just like, I can't tell her I know who this is. You know, like I was just like, I'll just never bring it up again and hope she doesn't either. And so I went to go drive them to the mall or something. And I had told my daughter, oh, tell so-and-so that Kevin says hi. Oh, okay, great. You know, they exchanged highs through me. So I go to the house to pick up my daughter and her friend. And I look, and here comes Christy Mist out of the house. This is like 5 years ago.
Wow.
And we just make eye contact and kind of do that. Like we both know what we're not going to verbalize. And it was just like, oh, hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Oh, you know Kevin? Yeah, I know Kevin. And just said, hi, how you doing? We exchanged a few texts about whatever the girls were doing in school. I think they were on cheerleading together or something. And then when I got contacted about this, they were like, where do you know where any of the girls are? And I'm like, I know where Veronica is, and here's her info. And I said, I kind of know where Christy is. And they were like, oh my gosh. I go, well, I'll reach out to her and I'll see where that goes. And she never responded. So I was just like, yeah, she's probably just not.
That's fair.
Let me say something about the women of XPW. They really, really wanted this to work. The contract girls, you know, they saw this as an opportunity for something different to open up new doors for them, and they took it head on. Right. They wanted to learn, you know, every little spot. So I give it up for them. You know, they were very professional about it, and they just wanted to perform in the professional wrestling way, and they got the job done. I feel they did.
Yeah, and like Jessica said in the documentary, she was living out her dream. And we had Jasmine St. Clair on. I was hoping she would join us tonight. She was kind of scheduled to, but something maybe have happened. But yeah, it was one of those things where, you know, they had this opportunity, this green light to transition from something that maybe they wanted out of, and man, it was a golden opportunity for them. So they wanted it just as much as we did, just in a totally different way. So their hearts were in it too, you know. And you know, I mean, I'm glad Jessica got featured. I'm glad they talked to at least one of the girls. But no, man, it was. Is there anything else that you guys can think of that? I mean, man, the list goes on. One of the questions, what's your Mount Rushmore of XPW stars, and what were your guys' favorite venues?
I think you have to include Supreme up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. I throw down my idea.
Favorite arena. I see Larry touch bases on it. The Olympic Auditorium.
Olympic,
no question.
The Olympic Auditorium.
The Olympic
hands down,
is so historic. I mean, you walked into the dressing room and you saw all these signatures on this sacred wall of performers that's still standing there at the time when we were there. I mean, it was just amazing. It was a hall of fame of entertainment that's gone through those hallways. But the wrestling, the rich tradition and history of wrestling that took place in that arena, it was just
Spider-Man there.
For me, it was thank you, Leroy. For me, I think that was my number one.
Yeah, definitely. There was a real
Olympic for you, Pat? Olympic?
Oh,
Yes, sir.
Okay.
No question.
absolutely Olympic. There was a real gravitas to that building that you felt that you had to respect that building. It was the first time I walked in, I stopped, and every part of it was huge. Seeing it off the freeway, pulling into the parking lot, parking my car, walking up to the entrance, walking in the door, setting foot in that first hallway, making my everything was just so huge at the Olympic. It was yeah, it was awesome. Every bit of it was awesome.
Leroy, you saw a lot of the venues, or would you say the Olympic also?
Yeah, I mean it's personal to me because that's where I made my debut.
Right.
Oh,
And
yeah.
first
Oh,
match just
okay.
in that amazing arena, like you can't touch it.
Yeah.
But like Strongbow Stadium was super neat too, out in Bakersfield. It was kind of a dump, but it was a nice dump. And like some of those high school venues, I really like the early club venues. In Hollywood, there's some really cool ones there. Like I think there was a lot of really neat ones, but Grand Olympic stands above them all.
Yeah, I guess that for you too, Mike.
Birmingham High.
Birmingham
High.
The footage at Birmingham is fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
The
So
lighting was
good.
neat.
Yeah. I think the first footage I
always
saw
go
was
back to
Birmingham.
I always go back to the sports arena myself. I mean, the Olympic is so close.
Yeah.
It's like apples and oranges.
It's difficult. It's
a
very hard. You're
tough
right.
choice
To
but
decide.
I just, man, when you walked into the sports arena, it was like, this is an NBA arena. It just ended that year before for the Clippers, but it's like we're in this place that the major
we're in here.
We're
supposed to be in here.
It felt huge, like
surreal. I tell you,
we were becoming huge, that we were becoming big. Like it, you could say, build yourself up, talk about how great things are going to be, and how, oh yeah, we're moving to that next level, and then that felt next level. That felt legit. That felt like, okay, we're starting to. This is something here, and then Sabu and Terry Funk show up, and you're like, oh my god, like this is becoming huge.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things. I think that's one of the things too. Was Rob was a man of his word. He told us, we're going to go to big arenas, and people are going to be talking about the product, and he delivered. I mean, that's definitely something that I can say about Rob is he delivered. I mean, there's no denying it.
I think he wanted to be at the Olympics simply for the fact ECW had been there and we couldn't do anything smaller. To do something less than that would be maybe they would have won. But dealing with the Olympic and getting to go down there when it was closed, and you were just going in to get some tickets or deal with the management or give them some fake insurance papers. There was just to be in there and walk around and just be like, oh my gosh. And I felt that it was magic when I was there, but just since then, all the history that's come out in depth about the Olympic makes me wish I'd even spent more time in there and taken more pictures and
absolutely,
because it's just such a rich building. It's a shame what it is now, but it's incredible.
At least it's there.
It's true. It's true.
That's true.
Sports arena's gone.
Yeah.
What? So the question.
Another reason the Olympics better. It's still there. Sports arena's gone.
Billy's gone. Billy's gone. But the question asking. Well, this is interesting. I mean, I talked about him a little bit, but we got sidetracked. But because they asked me about him too when I was on the phone with Darkside, and I didn't really know what to say. But do you guys know what the connection was between when Messiah went to Epic?
Mm-hmm.
What was the, maybe Mike, but what was the similarities between Billy and Gary Yap and Billy and Rob Black concerning their wives, their significant others? Like, because Billy had correct me if I'm wrong, but is that his current wife?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
As Billy didn't want to go too far into it out of respect, but your question is correct.
Okay, that came from Jefferson Darcy again. Now, the question he posted again, Mount Rushmore people. What would you say your Mount Rushmore for XPW would be?
Oh, that's
and then we got to wrap it up. But guys, thank you. But yeah.
Well, yeah, for me, definitely Supreme. D. I gotta put Angel up there because the bumps this guy took, and
yeah, I agree.
It's difficult, just like
it's hard. It
really is
hard.
It's very difficult.
I want to put Chaos. Got to put Chaos up there, but then I got to put Jimmy up there. He took some Kevin. You got to put Kevin up there for the
Kevin, Jimmy, and Chaos.
Then I can't.
Let's do 6
Larry Rivera
count it down
with the Chico on
Rivera and Klaus.
How about the great Guido Mancini?
Oh my
Guido!
That's going to be a movie right there.
I will tell
Scary
you.
Perry. He was there.
Oh yeah, I will tell you. We touched on this. You guys, I mean, I'm for sure I told you this, but when we were at Heat Wave, and I've shared this before, I carpooled with Guido, and I couldn't find him. Everything was going haywire. I had to get back to my car. I thought we were going to get killed. And then I'm like, shit, where's Guido? And I see him way down at the other end with some people. I'm like, Guido, get over here. He ran all the way past the Olympic to my car. We got my car. We're getting on the freeway. I'm like, can you believe what happened? He goes, yeah, I know. That was crazy. And he goes, and I'm like, what did you see over there? He goes, no, that whole thing was crazy. There were fans that knew me from the sports arena, wanted my autograph. That's all you saw? Like he had no clue.
Oh my God.
No clue. I was excited that people were asking him. Only Guido, man. Only Guido.
Oh God.
Thanks for bringing him up, Rivera. No, seriously.
Quick story. The place where they had the interviews for the Dark Side episode was across the street from the Olympic.
Wow.
And I just remember I looked at the directions online and I'm like, it's across the street. Wow. And when I got there, I'm like, do you guys realize that that's the Olympic right there? And they're like, oh yeah, somebody earlier mentioned that. Like they didn't even know that the Olympic was, you could throw a rock and hit it.
Yeah.
I go, dude, I've snuck in there before. We should just go in there. And they were like, oh, well, we need permits. I go, there's a sign on the street. I saw it as I drove up that says Olympic Auditorium parking. You should just go out there on the street and take a quick shot of it. Oh, maybe permits. And I'm just like, we didn't come from permits. Like we didn't come from insurance either.
Wait till you hear Mike's stories.
Yeah, I'm like, permits. Like, let's just walk over there. You could film it with your phone, you know?
But dude,
Mike
guys,
has been there to like photocopy it and do the whiteout. And then they got a permit. They're good to go.
Mike Hartsfield, that's rock and roll, bringing it to the wrestling ring for sure, man. Hey guys, look, I love this live aspect.
3.5 hours.
Yeah.
What? Wow.
Yeah, we'll definitely do this again because look, we can talk all day. Love hearing all the questions and comments. Thank you, fans. And man, this has been a blast. Hope we shed some light on for all the fans. Look, there's a lot of questions that I can't answer, and that's why we probably need to do a part 2. Someone just said for sure.
Yeah, there it is.
No, but you're right, Chris. Thank all the fans out there that always loved the product and believed in the product, and we thank all you guys. Chris, you're doing a fabulous job, man.
Absolutely.
All those fans out there, fans, die-hard wrestling fans, even if you didn't like XPW, support Chris Kloss on what he's doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, all the fans.
Yeah, thank you, fans. Definitely.
Thank you,
from the one and
wrestling
only
fan. Yes.
All these guys,
the fan of the classic wrestling like the Luthes and the Bruno Sammartino. Thank you.
Well, every guy on the screen here, personally, I was very close to, man, and really, and so everybody, even the goofy guy, or not the Mickey guy down there, yeah, but hey guys, thank you. Any parting words or any shout outs, anything at all before we
I got something quick. I'm doing the Go Big show. They just announced season 2. January 6th is when it starts. Hey, shut up! Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Watch it.
Where is it? Where will we see it?
It's on TBS. Cody Rhodes is the
awesome,
judge,
man.
and we get into it.
Nice.
Real quickly, all the guys that were part of XPW that we lost and we miss dearly, and always remember those guys in your thoughts. Supreme and Dynamite, especially. So
Absolutely.
that's what I wanted to say about that.
Absolutely.
Playboy Buddy Rose.
That's right.
New Jack.
A quick story. I gave him a ride home from Birmingham High. I was living in Woodland Hills, and I'm not kidding. This was after the blowaway diet didn't work too well, but I had this little Chevy Chevette, and it was a tiny car. I'm not kidding you. And he was actually staying at the Best Western Aku Aku on Topanga and Ventura in Woodland Hills. So I gave him a ride home, and I'm driving down the freeway. And I'm not kidding. I had to kink my steering wheel to the left just a little bit just to go straight. He was weighing the car down, dude. That's a true story, man. I was like, he was going straight on the freeway, and then my steering wheel was like this the whole time. Just a
Only you, Klaus. Only
See,
you this thing can happen to.
That's why there needs to be a full documentary, because hear
full
those
size documentary.
Well, Hamrick convinced me to drive a car off of a ledge because we were going to the sports arena, and it was blocked. The driveway we were in through was blocked off, and there was like a curb. And I was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna have to go around." He goes, "Is this your car?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Floor it." I was like, "All right." He like launched off the curb.
And did it work? Did you guys land?
Yeah, car was fine. We went over just fine.
Wow. Guys, thank you so much.
Don't want to upset Hamrick, so
yeah.
Thank you, man.
Great seeing all your faces.
Hey, great seeing
Thank
you guys.
for Patrick Hernandez, senior official, for Larry Fake Rivera, aka Juan Tico, for Leroy RCG, sweep it up, asshole, sweep it up. For Teagle Action, Mike Hartsfield, and of course Luke Hawks, Messiah, and Chaos and Sylvia, and of course Rivera. Guys, thank you, man. This was special. This was awesome, and we'll have to do a part 2.
All right.
And
Thank you,
Good to see you all.
Thank you, fans. The fans.
Thank you very much. Thanks for all the memories. We didn't get everybody's question on the screen, but I did answer them. I have it all on the side here, so I answered them. Hope you guys were satisfied with this. The Wrestling Chatter, Extreme Memories. This was our live edition, Dark Side of the Ring. First live edition ever. Extreme Memories, always on the 15th and the 30th of every month. Be sure to subscribe to the Wrestling Chatter YouTube channel. Guys, thank you, XPW.
See ya.